Good evening and welcome to Baiju's exam prep. Am I audible and visible? Anushka, good evening. Meshak, good evening. Am I audible and visible? Bhuvanesh, Simran, Anushka, good evening. Yuvaganaka, Rupam, Bhuvanesh. Namaste, Bhuvanesh. Ankush, just hold on. Let the class begin. Let me wait for some more students to join in and then I'll begin. Kriti, good evening. Supraja, Priyanka, good evening. I'll answer doubts. Bhimara, just hold on. Let me first begin the class. Good evening, everyone. Am I audible and visible? Okay, I got it, Ankush. I'll answer that question. Just hold on. Okay, good. So, last class, that is on Friday, I began with art and culture. I gave an overview of art and culture, and I began with the first topic, religious movements, Buddhism, Jainism, Bhagavatism, Shaivism. Today, I hope to finish this topic, the religious movements topic, Buddhism, Jainism, Bhagavatism, and Shaivism. And if time permits, we'll begin with Indian art and architecture. Now, before I proceed, I gave you an overview of Buddhism. Basically, I told you about the life of the Buddha, how Siddhartha became Buddha, and some of you had this doubt whether it was relevant for me to, talk to you about the life story of Buddha. Now, I would want to show you some questions directly on your screen. Just go through the questions, a few questions, right? Because I'll be discussing all these questions. These are questions asked by the UPSC. So some of you had this. I had this doubt whether it was relevant for me to talk about the life story of Buddha. And I had told you earlier, even before I began the topic of Buddhism, I had told you that the life story of the Buddha is necessary to know for you to answer the questions because UPSC has asked questions from that area. So, for example, let me just go through some questions. Milinda Panha or Milinda Panho is in the form of a dialogue between the king Menendar and the Buddhist monk Wat. The concept of eightfold path forms a theme of, this was in 1998, the concept of eightfold path, Ashtangika Marga, I'm yet to come there, forms a theme of what? Then 2001 question, which of the following presided over the Buddhist council held during the reign of Kanishka at Kashmir? 2001 question. We are yet to do the Buddhist councils, I'll come there. Next question, 2002 question. In ancient Indian Buddhist monasteries, a ceremony called Pavarala used to be held. It was the what? They've asked that question. Which among the following was not a contemporary of the other three? 2005 question. In which state is the Buddhist site Tabo Monastery located? Etc. etc. So when I tell you the entire story of the Buddha, you should be able to. I had told you that you will be able to answer most of the questions. So therefore, let me be very clear. If it was going to waste my time and your time, I wouldn't have done it. So keep that in mind. So let me quickly recap the story of the Buddha, and then I can continue. Um, so six we have So I have told you about the importance of the 6th century BC. The 6th century BC. I'll come to some of your doubts. Just hold on. Ankush and others, Bhimare, just hold on. So importance of 6th century BC. I've told you that 6th century BC is considered to be a revolution in the in the realm of religion and philosophy, in the realm of thought and ideas. A number of religions were founded, a number of philosophies were founded, not only in India but throughout the world. Like for example, Confucius and Tao founded Confucianism and Taoism in China. Shintoism was developed during this period in Japan. We have the Greek philosophers, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, who gave their philosophies around the same time. Zoroaster in Iran or Persia gave his founded Zoroastrianism. And in India, we had about 62 sects. Most of them were Gnostic, that is, they did not believe in the existence of God. And out of these 62 sects, two became religions, and one became a world religion, namely Buddhism. Then we have looked at the causes for the rise of heterodox sects. Causes for the rise of heterodox sects. Heterodox is which oppose the existing belief systems. Basically, the Vedic religion was the most of the people followed Vedic religion, Vedic way of life before Buddhism and Jainism. Buddha and Mahavira came onto the scene and gave their teachings. So, what are the causes for the rise of heterodox sects? The Vedic religion had become complex, costly, unintelligible. We have the Brahminical domination challenged by the Kshatriyas. The Vaishyas wanted to improve their social position because they were third in the order and they were the only taxpayers. We have the teachings of Buddha and Mahavira, which were very simple, easy to follow, devoid of any rituals and sacrifices. It was more ethical and moralistic in nature. They used the local language, the vernacular language, to propagate their teachings. So all these things led to the rise of heterodox sects. Then I came to Lord Buddha. Like I came to Buddha, how Siddhartha became Buddha. And I've told you the story of Buddha. I will not, of course, again repeat the story. There are three main sources for the study of Buddhism. We rely entirely on Ceylonese chronicles because they are considered to be more authentic, reliable. So that's what the Buddhists believe. They rely mostly on the Ceylonese chronicles, the books of Sri Lanka, like Dvipavamsha, Mahamamsha, Attakatha, etc. And of course, because of the time lag between the death of the Buddha and what was written about him, there is a lot of facts which have got mixed up with fiction. So we rely entirely on hagiography, that is Buddhist religious biography, and allegorical stories connected with the life of the Buddha, the mystery stories connected with the life of the Buddha. So I told you that the dream which Mahamaya had when an elephant comes and gives her a lotus flower, and then we have the birth of Siddhartha in the Lumbini, at Lumbini in 563 BC on a full moon day. Certain events happened on a full moon day. Then, when he was about 16 years old, he was married to a girl, Yashodhara, and he had two children. And then the turning point in his life came when he was about 29 years old, when he went out for the first time into the city of Kapilavastu for a ride on his chariot. And on 4 days, he saw four scenes: an old man, a sick man, a dead body, and an ascetic. So he sees an old man, a sick man, a dead body, and an ascetic or a sage, and he renounced the world. He decided to renounce the world or become a sannyasi and find the answer to the question, what is the purpose of life? Right? And then, he wandered for the next 6 years, accompanied by five people. Then, at the age of 35 years, at Gaya, sitting under a bodhi tree or the sacred fig tree or people tree, he attained nirvana, which is also called sambodhi. So he lived for totally 80 years. He achieved his nirvana at the age of 35. And for the next 45 years, he went from place to place giving his discourses or teachings. And he spent maximum number of time at Pavapuri. He gave his maximum discourses there at Pavapuri. At Shravasti. I'm sorry. He spent his maximum time at Shravasti and gave his maximum discourses there. Then he spent his last rainy season at Vaishali. And then, along with Ananda, his favorite disciple, he comes to Pavapuri, where he was given a meal of pork by Chunda. And that led to an infection, leading to Siddha Buddha developing loose motions or diarrhea. And that brought about his death. And the death of the Buddha is called Parinirvana. And that happened at Kushinagar. So between two salt trees, he lay. He asked Ananda to make a bed for him, and he laid on that bed, and he passed away. And before he died, he gave his last discourse to Ananda and a wandering ascetic called Subhadra. Subject to decay are all component things. Strive earnestly for your salvation. Did I stop there last class? Bhuvanesh, I told you the Brahmana, there were four Varnas, right? In the Vedic period, there were four Varnas, and the Brahmins the Brahmanas were claiming superiority over the other Varnas. They were the ones who who knew the Vedas, the Shastras, etc. They were the ones who did the sacrifices to enhance the power of the king, like the Rajasuya, Ashwamedha, Vajapaya, etc. And therefore, they felt themselves superior compared to the other three Varnas. And that was not liked by the Kshatriyas. So the Brahminical domination was challenged by the Kshatriyas. Did you understand, Bhuvanesh? Okay, so I have told you all those things. Gotra is Kaupen, that is descent from a common ancestor. When I did Vedic chapter in ancient India, I've spoken about it. Gotra means generally it is named after a prominent sage like Atri, Bharadvaja Gotra, Gautama Gotra, etc. So generally it is named after a prominent sage, Gotra, and Gotra means descent from a common ancestor. The person has descended from a common ancestor. That is the meaning of Gotra. And I told you also in a Vedic period that if the boy and the girl are belonging to the same Gotra, traditionally they are not supposed to marry each other because they are considered to be construed to be sister and brother. Right? That is Hari. I have told you that. Pihu is asking why didn't he choose any other path instead of meditation? Like why won't he ask in his code and call? Pihu, I mean, this is what the Buddhists believe, so we simply go by that. Why he did not follow any other path? Probably that was the best path he found to achieve his, nirvana or get answers to the question which was bothering him. I told you when he saw the fourth scene, that is of a sage or an ascetic, he wanted to renounce the world, and then try to find the answer to the question. I'm coming to the Bhuvanesh. I told you important disciples, the accomplices of Buddha, Kondana, Vappa, Bhadia, Mahanama, Asagi. These are the accomplices of Buddha. Now, somebody asked me some question at the beginning of the class. Can you repeat those questions, please? I think Bhimare was one. And what is the other question asked by, I think, Ankush? Ankush, um, let me scroll up. Yeah, Ankush is asking, sir, Aurangzeb killed Dara Shikoh. Was this for equating Islam and Hinduism, or he killed him to remove his obstacles? Both. Dara Shikoh was killed. He had to find a valid reason to eliminate Dara Shikoh, and he used that. Whatever was written in that book by Dara Shikoh. That is, Majmaul. In that book called Majmaul Bahrain, he had written that Hinduism and Islam are the two eyes of India, and he is supposed to have insulted Islam that way because he was equating Islam with Hinduism, and he got the support of the ulemas. So he required one strong reason to accuse Darashiko, and on that ground he was eliminated. Basically, he wanted to have a reason to eliminate him. Even if he did not find a reason, he would have concocted a reason, right? He just wanted to be the emperor. Simple as all that. And what was the other question, Bhimare? Can you repeat your question? Yeah, Tathagata, I told you, Bhimare. Tathagata is, he asked his the former accomplices to address him as Tathagata. Tathagata literally means one who has come, and therefore one who has to go. It literally means the one who has walked the path of enlightenment. And please understand, Siddhartha Gautama is one of the Buddhas. Okay, Gautama Buddha, whom which the world knows as the most famous, Buddha, is just one of the Buddhas. There are totally 8 Buddhas, right? Buddhists believe there are 8 Buddhas. So before Gautama Buddhartha or before Siddhartha Gautama, there were 7 Buddhas who had come on this earth. Already there were there were already 6 Buddhas who were on this earth and who had passed away. The 7th Buddha was Siddhartha Gautama. Siddhartha who became Gautama Buddha, and the Buddha who is yet to come is Maitreya Buddha. Okay, so did you get me that, Bhimare? So he is just one of the 8 Buddhas, Siddhartha Gautama. So Tathagata literally means one who has come, and therefore one who has to go, right? Krishna, just hold on. What are 3 Pitakas? I'm coming to that. Just hold on, Krishna. When we arrive there, we'll cross the bridge. So please hold on. Okay. Yeah, Sakshi, one of the persons who made Buddhism popular in China during the Gupta period, Bodhidharma, Paramartha, Buddha Yashas, Dharma Yashas. These are all the various Indian monks who went from India to China and propagated Mahayana Buddhism. Okay, so let me move on. Are you clear till here? I had stopped here. Can we move on? So Buddha lay between two sal trees and he passed away. This was again on a full moon day. So he was born on a full moon day. He died on a full moon day, and he attained his nirvana or a sambodhi on a full moon day. So let me move on. I had stopped here last class, and on your screen you can see the Chaitya Griha in Kushinagar, UP. Yeah, Siddhartha, I'll come to that, Hari. Siddhartha is just one of the Gautama Buddhas. Siddhartha Gautama is only one among the 8 Buddhas. The Buddha who is yet to come is Maitreya Buddha. So in the list of 8 Buddhas, Gautama Buddha is 7th. And the Buddha who is yet to come is Maitreya Buddha. So we'll come to that. We'll arrive there. Just hold on. So Chaitya Graha, this is the place where the Buddha attained his parinirvana or death. Right? Now, and the gilded statue of parinirvana. Now let us look at other aspects of Buddhism. So what are the teachings of the Buddha? What are the teachings of the Buddha? So let's talk about it. So the teachings of the Buddha are contained in the so-called 4 noble truths. The teachings of the Buddha are contained in what is known as 4 noble truths or Arya Satchani. So this is in Pali language, Chatvari Arya Satchani. This is in Pali language, the 4 noble truths. So what does Buddha say? He starts on a pessimistic note. There is suffering. He says there is suffering, dukkha. So there is suffering on this earth, dukkha. It has a cause, samudaya. Suffering can be removed, nirodha. So he's assuring the follower that suffering can be removed. So there's suffering on this earth. It has a cause. Suffering can be removed or nirodha. And how to remove suffering? By following the Ashtanga Marga or Atthanga Magga. In Sanskrit, Ashtanga Marga. So Ashtanga Marga. Ashtanga is 8. Ashtanga is 8 in Sanskrit, and Marga is path. Marg is path. So follow the 8-fold path, and you can achieve your nirvana. So there is suffering, it has a cause, suffering can be removed. And how to remove suffering? By following the 8-fold path or Ashtangika Marga or Atthanga Magga in Pali language. Now what is this Ashtangika Marga? On your screen, right? So these are the 8-fold path given by the Buddha: right effort, right speech, right thought, right mindfulness, etc. On your screen, right speech. So here, telling the truth, speaking kindly and wisely, that is right speech. Right intention or thought, caring for others and being unselfish. Right view, knowing and understanding the 4 noble truths. Right action, not to harm others, steal or cheat. Right effort, working hard to keep to the 8-fold path. Right concentration, peaceful state of mind gained from following the 8-fold path. Right mindfulness, being aware of the effects of thoughts and actions. And lastly, right livelihood, working to the best of your ability and being in a job that does not harm others. So this is, as you can see, this is called 8-fold path. This is more ethical and moralistic in nature. It's more ethical and moralistic in nature. It's full of ethics and morals. How a person is supposed to conduct himself or herself in the family and in society. That's what Buddha taught in his teachings as part of the 8-fold path. So it's more ethical and moralistic in nature. Are you there with me? No, he's saying, Bhuvanesh, he's assuring the devotee that sufferings can be removed. That is called nirodha. Sufferings can be removed is called nirodha. And how to remove the sufferings? By following the 8-fold path. Bhuvanesh, so the meaning of nirodha is sufferings can be removed. So dukkha is there is suffering. Do you understand? Dukkha is what? There is suffering. Dukkha. Then samudaya, it has a cause. Nirodha is sufferings can be removed. And how to do that? By following the 8-fold path. Okay. Now understand this. So Buddha assured his devotees, his followers, that if a person follows the 8-fold path, whether male or female, irrespective of varna, he will guarantee nirvana to everybody. So he says, if this eightfold path is followed, he will guarantee nirvana to everybody, both male and female, and to all the four varnas, that is Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Right. Now, please understand, in the Vedic religion, moksha was denied to the females and Shudras. It was only available to the people who had gone through the Upanayana ceremony, the thread ceremony, the Dvijas, the twice born, isn't it? Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya. Only they could, attain moksha, that is freedom from rebirth, because they had worn the sacred thread or the Upanayana, they had undergone the Upanayana ceremony. So, Shudras and women were called Ekajas, and they were doomed because no moksha for them. Whereas Buddha says, if you follow Nirvana, he will guarantee, if you follow the eightfold path, he will guarantee nirvana to everyone, both male and female, as well as all the four varanas. Are you there with me? And then you see this particular eightfold path is also called Madhyama Marga. I'll use another book, another page. I can use this page. So the eightfold path is also known as Madhyama Marga. Madhyama Marga. Or Madhyama Pratipata. It's also called Madhyama Pratipata. That is, or middle path. It is also called middle path, Madhyama Marga. The eightfold path is also called middle path or Madhyama Marga or Madhyama Pratipata. Now, what is the meaning of this Madhyama Marga or Madhyama Pratipata? It is neither too difficult to follow, neither too easy to follow. So Buddha says it is not very difficult to follow this eightfold path. Neither is it too easy. It is somewhere in between. And therefore, the Ashtangika Marga is also called Madhyama Marga or Madhyama Pratipata. Did you understand? That's called Madhyama Marga or Madhyama Pratipata. Okay, very good, Ankush. Yeah, that is called Madhyama Marga, Nayana. That's what Buddha called it. Buddha called, these as eightfold path. Right speech, right action, right thought, right mindfulness, right concentration, right livelihood, etc. Are you there with me? Did you understand what I just now told you? The eightfold path is neither too difficult, neither too easy to follow. It is somewhere in between, and therefore it is also called Madhyama Marga or middle path. Okay, now look here. Now let us try to understand what is Nirvana. What is Nirvana? Now, uh, when does a person in the Vedic religion, when does a person attain moksha? After his death. A person, of course, he has to go through the Upanayana ceremony, the thread ceremony, and only after his death, he is believed to have attained moksha. Now, what does Buddha say? Buddha says that if you follow the eightfold path, he will guarantee that person can attain nirvana within one's lifetime, before that person dies. So, nirvana does not mean physical death. Does not mean, so remember that, it does not mean physical death. Nirvana doesn't mean physical death. Then what does it mean? It means a person getting rid of his ego, his selfishness, his anger, his jealousy, his hatred, his sense of importance, ego, I-ness, what Buddha called as I-ness. So that is what is the meaning of nirvana. And there are other words for it like vimokha, vimutti, arahata. So it literally means blowing out or dying out or extinction of desire, attachment, greed, hatred, ignorance, and the sense of I-ness. I-ness is ego. So Buddha says when you get rid of all these things, you have automatically attained nirvana. Okay? So freedom, so it also means freedom, self-mastery, emancipation, and breaking out of the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. So you break yourself out of the shackles of birth, that cycle of birth, rebirth, death, and rebirth. So you also break out of that cycle, he says. Nirvana. Right? So this is called nirvana. It doesn't mean physical death. It only means getting rid of all of your base, base, senses, anger, jealousy, hatred, which make a person weak, which make a person weak. So that's what Buddha says. Hmm? Now let us look at Sakshi. Please use English. M खत्म हो जाता है. What is M? No, Baba Buddha never used the word moksha. So this is what is the purpose of life, Hari. Whatever teachings he gave, he found the answer to the purpose of life. This is what you when you follow the eightfold path, right? And you follow the Buddha Vachana, the path laid down by the Buddha, the words of the Buddha, that you are leading the life of Buddhahood. Okay, you're going towards there. Okay, let me move on. Let us look at other ideas of the Buddha. Now let us look at other ideas of the Buddha. Transmigration of souls. So Buddha spoke about transmigration of souls. What is transmigration of souls? That when a person dies, it is only the death of the physical body. So when a person dies, it is only the death of the physical body. Physical body dies. Physical body dies when a person dies. The Atma, that is a soul, is permanent. There's no death for the soul. No death. Soul has no death. So, but then until a person squares off his karmic debts, he has to take repeated births. Please understand, until a person squares off his karmic debts. So let us take a weighing scale. Understand this, please. Let's take a weighing scale, right? This is the weighing scale. Imagine this is the weighing scale. So your good and bad deeds should be equal. Your good and bad deeds should be equal. Then only you'll attain nirvana, according to the Buddha. Now, let us say a person has more bad deeds. So he has accumulated all those bad deeds from his previous lives, right? So in this life, in the present life, he may be a very nice man, very nice person in all respects, but he has got a lot of suffering. So what's the explanation given? The explanation given is that he must have done something bad in the previous life. He or she must have done very bad in the previous life. That's why that person is suffering. So here, this person who has got more of bad debts, he has done bad karmas, he has to take repeated births on this earth so that he can square off the karmic debts. So first of all, he should stop doing bad, and in every birth he should keep on doing good, so that the good and the bad balances each other out. Only then nirvana happens. That is called transmigration of souls. Did you understand? Yeah, nirvana is that is true. It is equal to salvation. Yeah, Amanpreet, that is true. Okay, thank you, Ankush. See, please understand. You see, Ankush is saying these are called Arishad Dvarga. I understand this. The thing is, many of the teachings of Buddha and Mahavira were derived from Upanishadic teachings. They are all derived from Upanishadic teachings. These are Upanishadic teachings, basically. Buddha was not telling something new. And both Buddhism and Jainism are called the two rebellious sisters of Buddhism, of Hinduism. Rather, that they are called the two rebellious daughters of Hinduism. Both and Jainism, Buddhism and Jainism, these two religions are called the two rebellious daughters of Hinduism. Now, please understand, Buddha and Mahavira only condemned those corruptions which had crept into the Vedic religion. They criticized those corruptions which had crept into the Vedic religion, and they gave their own teachings, right? And their teachings became very, very popular because of various reasons. We have seen that. We'll come back here. So, transmigration of souls. Are you there with me? What is that? Transmigration of soul? Did he reject the existence of the soul? No, the Buddha says, see, he of course rejected the existence of the soul, but then he says that there are certain things which get carried forward. The tendencies get carried forward, and he gives the example of a flame. Understand this? Krishna is asking, did he reject the existence of the soul? Now, Buddha never spoke about the soul, Atma as such, but then he says that the tendencies in a person gets carried forward. Like a flame, you have a candle which is lighted, which is lit up, right? And then you, with that candle, you can light other candles. So like that, a person's tendencies, good and bad tendencies, get transferred to his later, later life. That's what Buddha says. It can get transferred. The tendencies get transferred. Did you understand, Krishna? That's what he says. Now, then we'll come back here. Karma Siddhanta. What is Karma Siddhanta? So Buddha says, if you do good things, you will get good results. Good karma, good results. Bad karma, bad results. So he believed in karma marga. So there are three methods to attain moksha. One is the karma marga, the gnana marga, and the bhakti marga. Karma marga is acha karam karo. You do good things, good deeds, and you'll have good fruits. You can reap the good harvest because of your good deeds. If you do bad things, you have to suffer because of the bad results out of those bad deeds. Then Gnana Marga, path of knowledge, and Bhakti Marga, path of devotion. So Buddha spoke about Karma Siddhanta, good deeds, bad deeds. If you do bad, then you have bad results. And similarly, good deeds, you have good results. Then Paticha Samutpada, what is called dependent origination. This is basically cause and effect theory. Paticha Samutpada is nothing but cause and effect theory. That is, what is cause and effect theory? For every cause, there is an effect. And for every effect, there has to be a cause. That's the meaning of cause and effect. For example, let's say you are going in a bus. Okay, you're going in a car or a bus, and you see, through the window, you see a policeman. Police people have arrested somebody and they have handcuffed him. They are taking him in a handcuff, right? And they're making him sit in the police jeep. So what do you think? That person must have done something wrong, and that's why that is the effect of whatever bad thing is. That is a bad thing he has done. That is called cause and effect theory. So if you do, for every cause there's an effect, and vice versa. For every effect there has to be a cause. Are you with me? Then agnostic. Uh, Agnostic. No, Newton's third law. No, first law is different. For every cause there's an equal and opposite reaction. For every reaction, action. That is, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. Here he never spoke about equal and opposite. Yoga Nika. He says if you do bad things will happen to you. So it may not be equal and opposite. It may be much more than that. Then agnostic. Agnostic, I've already told you, Buddha did not give a concrete statement. He did not know concrete statement about God, about the existence of God. No concrete statement about God, whether God exists or not. Totally, he ignored that question. When Buddha was asked whether God exists or not, he never said yes or no. He totally ignored that question. Therefore, Buddha is called agnostic. Then he believed in ahimsa. That is what? Non-violence. Non-violence. He believes in ahimsa. Janma, that is birth. And punarjanma, rebirth. So ahimsa, janma, punarjanma. Right? Clear? Can I move on? Nayana, I'm coming to that. Just hold on. It is there in the later. Later, I'll come to that. Hold on. Are you clear till here? Can we cross the bridge when we arrive there, Nayana? Just hold on. I'll give you the list of 8 Buddhas. It is there in the PPTs. I've added that. Just hold on. Okay, let's move on. Now, let us talk about the Sangha. You see on your screen, you see a picture of the Buddhist Sangha. What is the Sangha? It is a monastic order. What is the Sangha? Sangha is the monastic order established by the Buddha. It is the monastic order established by the Buddha, right? That's called Sangha, established by the Buddha. And even Mahavira established a Sangha. Even Mahavira in his lifetime established a Sangha. So monastic order. So it is Bhuvanesh. What is monastic? Monastic means you have monks and nuns who have taken vows. They have taken vows of celibacy, and that they will strictly follow the rules laid down by the monastery or the Sangha. So you can call the Sangha as the earliest church in world history. You can call the Sangha as the earliest example of a church. Earliest example of a church in world history. Now, obviously, the question arises, what's a church? What's a church? A church is a voluntary association of monks and nuns. It's a voluntary association of monks and nuns. It's a voluntary association of monks and nuns. Now, look here. Um, yeah, Amanpreet. Rebirth is there in Hinduism, in Vedic religion. So here, now look here. Buddha initially never allowed women into the Sangha. Buddha was against women joining the Sangha. So he allowed only males initially into the Sangha. But Ananda, who was Ananda? Ananda was Buddha's favorite disciple. So Ananda kept on pestering Buddha, please make the Sangha co-ed. Let women also be part of the Sangha. So Ananda wanted the Sangha to be co-ed. But Buddha was dead against it. But then Ananda did not keep quiet. He went and brainwashed Prajapati Gautami, Mahapajapati Gautami, Buddha's stepmother also, and told her, please request your son to allow women into the Sangha. So after a lot of thinking and, Buddha agreed to allow women into the Sangha. So it was because of Ananda's repeated insistence that he allowed women into the Sangha. Did you understand? Now, Buddha gave a prophecy. Buddha allowed women into the Sangha, but he gave a prophecy. And this prophecy became true. What's a prophecy? Prophecy is something which you say, which you would have spoken, and that becomes true later, that this is going to happen. That's called a prophecy. So he prophesied that, what is the prophecy given by the Buddha? My religion, understand this, my religion would have lasted for 1,000 years. My religion would have lasted for how many years? 1,000 years. But now, because of women being allowed into the Sangha, my religion will last only for 500 years. My religion would have lasted for 1,000 years. But now, because of women being allowed into the Sangha, it will last for only 500 years. This is the prophecy given by the Buddha, and that prophecy became true. Now, let me try to clarify this part. Buddha, don't mistake Buddha here. Buddha was not a hater of women. Buddha was not a hater of women. He did not have trust in the monks. Buddha did not trust the monks, the male monks, right? That's why he gave this prophecy. Did you understand? And did you get the joke here? Hello. Buddha did not trust the monks. Buddha had no trust in the monks. Hello, are you there with me? So please understand, over a period of time, what happened is, in course of time, Buddhism became very, very popular. Buddhism became very, very popular, and many kings and merchants, traders made donations to the sanghas and the viharas. Sangha is the monastic order, and vihara is the monastery where monks and nuns used to stay. So Buddhism became very, very popular in course of time, and at the same time, many people joined the Sangha with ulterior motives. What was the main purpose of the monks and nuns? To propagate the teachings of the Buddha, to spread the teachings of the Buddha. That was the main duty of the monks and the nuns. But many people joined the Sangha with ulterior motives. Because so here in the post-Maurya period, for example, we have a number of foreigners coming into India. And many of these foreigners took to the worship of Buddha. And many of these foreigners joined the Sangha. And then also you have women in the Sangha. And then there was no restrictions on eating meat. I'll come to that in some time. There was no restrictions in eating meat on your begging rounds when you go out for begging. So meat was consumed, lot of money was flowing into the Sangha. And in course of time, many people had joined the Sangha because of ulterior motives. So that they began to misuse the holy presence of the Sangha. So a lot of corruptions crept into the Sangha, including debauchery, and such things. So that was one of the reasons for the decline of Buddhism. I'll come to the decline of Buddhism in some time. Did you understand? Gunjan, it is not my explanation. It is what is told in all the books. Don't get me wrong here. It's not my explanation. This is what happened, and that's the truth. That's the truth also, right? No, Buddha, Ankush is saying, but why Buddha opposed this? This is the basic life of humans. That's how Buddha was also born. Now, that is true. Buddha was born through the biological process, or rather, there's a fantastic story behind the birth of the Buddha. But the point is, he did not want people to use the premises of the sanghas and viharas for these purposes, for debauchery, sexual, experiments. And unfortunately, that's what happened. And one of the reasons or causes for the decline of Buddhism is this, because people with dubious, intentions joined the sangha, with questionable intentions joined the sangha, and they began to misuse the holy precincts of the sangha. So when I come to the decline of Buddhism, I'll talk about it. So just hold on. Now, did you understand? I'll come to that in some time. Now, so Buddha gave a prophecy. Now, please understand. So monastic order or the Sangha was established by the Buddha in his lifetime. He initially allowed only males, and later he allowed females also into the Sangha. Now, who was a bhikkhu? Understand this. Understand these terminologies. UPSC has asked questions from here. So who is a bhikkhu? Bhikkhu or a bhikshu? Bhikshu or a bhikkhu? This is a male monk, a monk. So full-time member of the Sangha, bhikshu. So bhikshu, so he's a male monk. Okay, so he is part of the Sangha and he's a male monk, full-time member of the Sangha, bhikshu. And who is a bhikshuni? Bhikshuni or bhikkhuni. She's a female nun, or a nun. She's a nun. So she's a nun. Now, who is a upasaka? Upasaka and a upasika. Understand this. Who's a upasaka? Lay follower of Buddhism. Lay follower. Lay male follower. Lay male follower of Buddhism is called upasaka. That is, please understand, who is a lay follower. For example, let's say there's a person called A. Let's say there's a person called A. He is not part of the Sangha. He's not part of the Buddhist Sangha. He's a common man like you and me, but he's following the teachings of the Buddha. So he will be called a upasika. A upasaka will be a male follower of the Buddha, a male lay follower of the Buddha, and a female lay follower. Female lay follower of the Buddha is called upasika. Did you understand? Upasaka, upasika. Hari, just hold on. I'll answer that question. Just hold on. I know. So Hari is asking, sir, in the Buddha's philosophy, he told to avoid the ahimsa. That is true. Ahimsa was a very important concept in Buddhism. How they allowed the Sangha from, how did they allow the members of the Sangha to consume meat? So just hold on. I'll answer that. No, Bhuvanesh. Bhikshuni is not wife of Bhikshu. They are not allowed to marry. Hello. They are not allowed to marry. Right? Once they join the Sangha, you have a separate monastery or a vihara for the monks and a separate monastery for the nuns. They live separately, like a ladies' hostel and a gents' hostel, right? They are not married to each other. Don't get me wrong here. Bhikshu is a male monk, a full-time member of the Sangha, and a full-time female counterpart of the male monk is called Bhikshuni, nun, right? And Upasaka is a male lay follower who's not part of the Sangha but continues to follow the teachings of the Buddha. And Upasika is a female lay follower. Are you there with me? Okay, now look here. Okay, now look here. What are the rules made by the Buddha? What are the rules made by the Buddha for somebody to join the Sangha, understand this. What are the rules laid down? First of all, a person who wants to join the Sangha is supposed to shave his head. He's supposed to shave his head, right? And he's supposed to take an oath. So shave head. He or she should shave the head. Why shaving the head? Why shaving the head? No. Yeah, Upasaka, Upasika could be married. Amanpreet, they are lay followers. They are not part of the Sangha. Once you join the Sangha, you are supposed to take a oath of celibacy. You cannot be married, right? When you are joining the Sangha, you are supposed to abandon your family life and come away. And you remain in that Sangha. Okay, so no fashion. That is true. Shave head is true because no fashion. So that was also there, and hair is attractive to the opposite sex. So that is the reason why they were expected to shave their head. So they were supposed to shave their head. Then they are supposed to take an oath of loyalty, an oath of loyalty or fidelity, an oath of loyalty or fidelity to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. They're supposed to take an oath of loyalty to the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. That is Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami, Sangam Sharanam Gacchami. Now, a person, once male or female, when they joined the Sangha, they were given 8 things to carry on the person. They were given 8 things. What are the 8 things they were supposed to carry on their person, or it was given to them? They could only have 8 possessions, 3 robes, then a begging bowl, then a needle, right? Then a razor, right? Then belt and water strainer. So these are the possessions of a monk or a nun. 3 robes. Why 3 robes? So when they're wearing one, they'll keep 2 in spare, as spare. And when they want to wash this, when they want to change the robe that person is wearing, he will use the spare robes, and then he'll wash the one which is soiled. So 3 robes, 1 begging bowl. Now please understand, why were monks and nuns expected to beg? Anybody? Why were monks expected to beg? Monks and nuns expected to beg. Just one, hold on. Please answer my question. Why begging bowl? So the 3 robes. Count the 3 robes, Mehta. 3 robes, begging bowl, needle, razor, belt, and a water strainer. That makes it 8. Okay, 3 robes. 1, 2, 3. That is already covered. 3 robes. Then 4th is begging bowl. No. Begging bowl. No, not to stay from materialistic things. See, understand this, please. To get rid of one's ego. Now, somebody who's got ego will not beg. Do you understand? Somebody who has got ego will not beg. And if a person has ego, he is that much away from God and from spiritual pursuits. Therefore, you should get rid of your ego. That's what, to get rid of one's ego, Buddha recommended begging. So begging bowl, right? Then needle. Why needle? Because if the monks, and nuns, if their robes tear, they are supposed to stitch the torn part with that needle and a string. Razor to shave the head and the face. Belt and a water strainer. These are the things they are supposed to carry on their person. Now, meals only once a day, once in 24 hours. So monks and nuns are supposed to have a meal once in 24 hours. And that too before midday. So in 24 hours, only one meal a day. That too before midday, before afternoon, before 2 o'clock, you finish off your meal, right? So monks and nuns are supposed to go to the nearby village or town or city, and they'll beg their food, right? They're expected to beg, and then they can consume it or they can bring it, and then there'll be a common bowl where they'll pour everything that is mixed together, and then it is consumed by the monks and the nuns. Now, why meal only once a day? That too before midday, because this is to prevent heedlessness, to prevent laziness, prevent heedlessness. Heedlessness means laziness. More food means more energy. What was the duty of the monks and the nuns? Their duty is to go from place to place and propagate the teachings of the Buddha, to spread the teachings of the Buddha. They don't require, Buddha felt, they don't require so much of food. Once in a day is good enough. Before midday, they can have their fill, stomach fill. And after that, they are not supposed to eat anything. So this was to prevent heedlessness. More food means more energy. And when you have more energy, you can misuse energy. Therefore, uh, meals once in a day. Did you understand? Now, some people were barred from or prohibited from entering the sangha. No, but some people were not given membership of the sangha. So who are the people prohibited? Who are the people prohibited into the sangha? Prohibited into sangha. Who are the people? Understand this. Number one, soldiers. Number two, debtors or insolvents. Number three, slaves. Number four, diseased. Now, soldiers, tomorrow there's a war, and this soldier or some soldiers don't want to get killed in the war. He's afraid of getting killed, so he'll come and join the Sangha. Not allowed. So, soldiers should take permission from the king. And if the king says, okay, you can go and join the Sangha, no problem. Soldiers can come and join the Sangha. So, without the permission of the king, they cannot come and join the Sangha. Debtors or insolvents. Somebody has borrowed money from a money lender and he has not returned the loan he has taken from the money lender. And this fellow, to escape returning the loan, he is come and join the Sangha. Not allowed. You first return all the loan you have taken and then you can come and join the Sangha. Otherwise, there'll be a money lender outside the Sangha waiting for this fellow, asking Buddha to send him out so that he can beat him up. Did you understand? So, debtors were not allowed. Right? Then slaves. Slaves, because you was slavery during Buddha's period, there was slavery, and many of the rich people used to keep slaves. So therefore, Buddha said, without the permission of the master, slaves cannot join the sangha. Let them take the permission of the master, and if the master says no problem, you can go and join the sangha, then he is allowed to join the sangha. Then disease, like for example, a person has tuberculosis, he's got leprosy. During those days, there was no cure, and that person comes and joins the sangha. What will happen? He'll spread the disease to his his the other members. They might get leprosy and TB. Therefore, diseased people not allowed. He should be hale and hearty, or he or she should be hale and hearty. Did you get me that? The slavery existed because otherwise the slavery existed, and the slave owner would have bought that slave for a certain amount of money. And many of these rich people used to make donations to the sangha. Merchants had slaves, kings had slaves, etc. So if all the slaves go and join the sangha, who will work for them in their fields or in their houses? Therefore, Buddha had made a rule where nobody is disturbed. You let the slave take the permission of the master and come and join the sangha. No problem. Clear? Are you there with me, Krishna? Okay, now then, apart from these people, there were some more. Look here. Then among women, pregnant women not allowed. Pregnant women not allowed into the sangha. Then women of unweaned children. Women of unweaned children. What is the meaning of women of unweaned children? That is, the mother is breastfeeding the baby, and the baby is dependent upon the mother's breast milk. Therefore, not allowed. So, women of unweaned children not allowed. Pregnant women not allowed. Then number 7, um, women without the permission of their father or husband not allowed. Without permission of father or husband not allowed. So let us say the girl is unmarried. So if she's unmarried, she has to seek permission from her father. And if her father says you can go and join the sangha, no problem. Otherwise, if she's married, then she has to seek permission from her husband. And if the husband has no objection, then she can go and join the sangha. So women without permission of father and husband cannot join the sangha. And lastly, women who always kept the company of men, who always kept the company of men, not allowed. Now these are rules made by the Buddha, not by me. So don't mistake me here. These are all rules made by the Buddha. Bhuvanesh, I'm coming to that. Just hold on. Bhuvanesh is asking a very nice question. What happened if a monk escaped and ate food 3 times in a day? So I'm coming to that. Just hold on. Number 6 is women of unweaned children. Number 6 is women of unweaned children. Ankush, I told you, women who is breastfeeding her baby is not allowed. Right? So these are the people who are prohibited from entering the Sangha. Now let me come to the non-veg part here. Somebody asked me, Buddha spoke about ahimsa. How did he allow the monks and the nuns to consume meat? Now look here. These are rules made by the Buddha. Buddha, of course, spoke about ahimsa. And what did Buddha eat and die? Hello? What did Buddha eat before he died? He developed an infection. What did he eat? He was served pork, isn't it? So you all know that. He ate pork meat. Now, did he mistake pork for mushroom and he thought it was mushroom and he ate it? No, definitely he knew it was pork. So let me answer that question. Very interesting question this is. Now, Buddha, of course, spoke about ahimsa, non-violence. He gave a lot of importance to non-violence. No doubt about it. Now, whether the monks and the nuns could consume meat is the question. And the answer is yes. Look here, when the monks and the nuns went to the nearby village or city or town to beg their food, and if that person happened to give meat in alms to that monk or nun, then they can consume it. Let's say there's a person called A. Understand this? There's a monk called A, right? And this monk called A went to the nearby village. And let's say my wife, taking a hypothetical example, let's say my wife has cooked a nice biryani, right? Chicken biryani, mutton chops, let's say. And this monk comes in front of my house and asks for bhiksha, asks for alms. So my wife can serve this monk whatever she has prepared, chicken or mutton or whatever. That can be consumed by this monk because this monk, do you understand? That there's no problem in that. Now, if my wife tells this monk, please come tomorrow, sir. Specifically for you, I will cut a chicken or a lamb, and I'll make some nice food for you, non-vegetarian food for you. That is himsa. That is not to be consumed because an animal or a bird will be specifically killed to serve this monk. So please understand, Chunda had already cooked pork in his house. Buddha and Ananda did not know about it. So he invited them for food to his house, invited them for a meal in his house, and they accepted the invitation. They went and sat there, and he served them pork. They did not know that pork had been cooked in his house. So, did you understand? So here, if the monk and the nun happen to go on his begging ground and he asks for meal or alms, and by chance the person who is giving him alms happen to feed him with non-vegetarian food, that can be consumed by the monks and the nuns. But if an animal or a bird was going to be killed to serve that monk or the nun, that was not to be consumed. Are you there with me? Did you understand what I just now told you? Did you understand what I just now told you? Okay. Gunjan says, sir, this thing is not allowed on any condition in Brahmanism. Gunjan, I have done the Vedic chapter. Please revise your Vedic chapter. You're wrong here. The Apastamba Smriti tells us that Brahmins should be fed with meat and fish to satisfy the pitras. So in the Vedic period, I've told you all this, that Brahmins used to consume meat. Right? I've told you this. Yeah. So death of the animal does not fall on the monk's karma. So I have already explained this. I don't want to say anything more than this. Did you understand this meat part? Okay. Now come back here. Now, what was the duty of the monks and the nuns? What was the duty of the monks and the nuns? Monks and nuns were supposed to go from place to place and propagate the teachings of the Buddha. They're supposed to spread the teachings, propagate the teachings of the Buddha. They're supposed to go from place to place and spread teachings of Buddha. That was their duty. Now, only in the rainy season, understand this? In the rainy season, they could take rest in the viharas, and that is called vasa. In the rainy season, the monks and the nuns used to retire. They used to take rest in the viharas, in the caves, in the monasteries, and that is called Vasa period. That is retreatment of monks and nuns. Retreatment of monks and nuns. That means for 3 to 4 months in a year, during the rainy season, for about 3 to 4 months in a year, monks and nuns can take rest. They can take rest where? In the viharas. What's a vihara? Vihara is a cave. It's a monastery. Vihara is a monastery. I'll come to vihara later. How does a vihara look like, etc. I'll talk about it later. So they should take rest in the viharas. Why in the rainy season they were not allowed to go from place to place, and instead they could take rest in the viharas? Because it is raining heavily. Many of the rivers and the lakes may be in spate, it may be in floods. So the monks might get carried away in the currents when they're trying to cross a river or a stream, or they might slip and fall. If they're going from one place to another place, they might break their bones, they might die in an accident. So to prevent all these complications, they could take rest in their caves, in the monasteries. Did you understand? That is called vasa, retreatment of monks and nuns in the rainy season. Okay, did you understand? Now, Buddha also, that is called Vasa. Understand these terminologies, please. Now, Buddha knew, somebody asked me this, I think Gunjan asked me, or somebody asked me, what if they ate more than necessary? I'll come to that, just hold on. 3 times in a day. Now, look here. Now, Buddha knew that an idle mind is a devil's workshop. An idle mind is a devil's workshop. Monks and nuns don't have much work in the rainy season because they are staying in the viharas. It is raining heavily most of the time, so they cannot walk around, roam around, and do other work. Therefore, he knew that some of the rules laid down by him can be not strictly followed. They might break the rules. So therefore, and as I told you, an idle mind is a devil's workshop. So in the Vasa period, you have monks and nuns who might break some of the rules laid down by the Buddha. For example, instead of eating once in a day, some monk or nun might consume food 3 times or 4 times in a day for about a few weeks. And right, so at the end of the retreatment period, there was a confession ceremony that is called Pavarala. Pavarala, also called Davaraya, also called Uposata or Upavasata. So Pavarala, Davaraya, Uposata, Upavasata. That is the confession ceremony. So monks and nuns were supposed to confess before other monks, other senior monks, that they have broken the rules during the Vasa period. For example, there may be a monk who comes and says, "Sir, I ate food, not once in a day, but three times in a day for a few weeks. So please punish me. I have made a mistake. And accordingly, that monk was punished. So that is a confession ceremony. That confession ceremony is called Pavarala, Davaraya, Uposata, Upavasata. Did you understand? What about my voice is not coming, says Asama. What about others? Am I clear? Bhuvanesh, this is the rules laid by the Buddha. Now, monks and nuns are supposed to beg. Even now, they may be following that who are full-time members of the Sangha. They may be following that. They may be going to specific houses and begging their food. People who strictly follow Buddhism. Osama, please, refresh your page. Please refresh your page. Sakshi says, no, don't take hypothetical examples, Sakshi. If they did not confess, they were supposed to confess. They were supposed to confess, right? What punishment did they receive? I have no idea about this, Hari. Like in the army, that person might have been asked to, go for 10 rounds or 20 rounds of in a ground. What was the punishment given? I have no idea because the books don't refer to it, but definitely there'll be some punishment given to the monks, right? In the rainy season, they're supposed to not go from place to place and propagate their teachings, Bhuvanesh, right? They're not supposed to go from place to place and propagate their teachings. They can take rest in the viharas and they can do other work. Now let us come back here. This is the Sangha. On your screen, you can see here, Sangha. Let us come back here. So rules for the Sangha. That is rules for the Sangha. I told you what are the rules laid down by the Buddha. Bhikkhu is a full-time male member of the Sangha. Bhikkhuni is the female counterpart, female nun, the nun, a full-time female nun of the Sangha. Upasaka is a male lay follower. Upasika is a female lay follower. Are you clear with Bhikkhu, Bhikkhuni, Upasaka, Upasika? All of you? Mehtab, of course, there was Buddhism, Jainism, Charvaka, Lokayata, other philosophies were there. Monks used to cook. No. For cooking, no, they'll not cook, Hari. They'll go to the nearby village to beg their food. They are supposed to beg. They're not cook. They're not supposed to cook and eat. They're only supposed to beg and eat. Clear, Hari? Only begging, not cooking. How they beg in the rainy season? They'll take an umbrella and go, Bhunesh. They'll take an umbrella. Umbrellas were there. Don't worry. Bhimani, I told you, 1,000 years, 500 years, prophecy, my religion would have lasted for 1,000 years. But with women being allowed into Sangha, it will last for only 500 years. Mehtab, that was a rule laid down by the Buddha, Mehtab. Why they cannot cook? Not that they could not cook, but they were not allowed to cook. They were supposed to beg their food to get rid of ego. Okay. Right. In which religion vegetarianism is followed strictly? In Jainism, I suppose. Jainism, vegetarianism is allowed, is followed strictly. We'll come back here. So Buddha's prophecy, I've already told you, 500 years. Then people who are prohibited from entering the Sangha, all of you clear regarding that? People who are prohibited from entering the Sangha? Okay, then Vassa. Vassa is the retreatment of monks. Vassa is the retreatment period, retreatment of monks and nuns. And Davaraya, Pavarala, Uposata, Upavasata is the confession ceremony. Okay, then you see monks used to elect the Sangha Thera and the Sangha Parinayaka. So you have the Sangha president. Sangha president was called Sangha Thera. Sangha Thera. Or Sangha Parinayaka. He's also called Sangha Parinayaka. The president of the Sangha. President of Sangha. And monks used to elect, not nuns, only monks. Monks used to elect with the help of Salaka. with salaka, that is wooden sticks. Salaka means wooden sticks. So monks used to elect the Sangha Thera or the Sangha Parinayaka with the help of salaka or wooden sticks. Salaka means wooden sticks. Anybody could join the Sangha, Bhuvanesh. Anybody could join the Sangha. I told you, irrespective of Varna or irrespective of caste, and many of the irrespective of sex, male or female, or any other, gender, and of course, any Varna. Even therefore, many foreigners in the post-Maurya period began to follow Buddhism because it was easy to follow Buddhism. There was no restrictions on the foreigners also, and that way they could be closer to Indian society. Get closer to Indian society. No restrictions. I've already told you that. Clear? Are you there with me, all of you? Can I move on? So monks used to elect the Sangha Thera or the president of the Sangha with the help of wooden sticks called salaka. S-A-L-A-K, salaka. Can you raise your hands? Can I move on? Any doubts here? Salaka is wooden sticks. So obviously, if there are four people, they will, put the stick that's equal to the ballot box. It is equal to the ballot paper. So number of sticks. That way the counting is done. Did you understand? Salaka is wooden sticks. So whoever gets the maximum number of wooden sticks, he wins the elections. Okay, move on here. Now, after the death of the Buddha, understand this? After the death of the Buddha, 4 councils took place, 4 meetings took place. So let us understand these councils on your screen. The first council or the first meeting took place immediately after the death of the Buddha. It took place immediately after the death of the Buddha. When did Buddha die? 483 BC. So the first council took place immediately after his death. What was the reason why this council was called or meeting was called? To codify the teachings of the Buddha. Buddha had laid down certain rules and regulations. He had given a lot of teachings that had to be codified, that had to be organized, structured, collated, brought together. So therefore, this meeting was called to codify the teachings of the Buddha. Where was it? Where was the first meeting held? Rajagriha. Who was the patron king? Ajatashatru. And who was the chairman or president of the first council? Mahakashyapa. Mahakashyapa was the president of the first council. Now, what was the result of the first council? What happened in the first council? What was the result? We have Buddha's favorite disciple, Ananda. Ananda, Buddha's favorite disciple, recited the Sutta Pitaka. He recited the Sutta Pitaka. What is Sutta Pitaka? Sutta Pitaka. He recited the Sutta Pitaka. Sutta Pitaka means code of conduct for Buddhist monks. Code of conduct for monks. Okay, that's called Sutta, code of conduct for monks. And what is Pitaka? See, during those days, there was no paper. There was no paper. So they used to write on palm leaves. Understand this? They used to write on palm leaves and they used to keep it in baskets called Pitaka. So Pitaka literally means basket. So everything was written on palm leaves and kept inside baskets called Pitaka. So Ananda recited the Sutta Pitaka. And another disciple of the Buddha by name Upali, recited the Vinaya Pitaka. What is Vinaya Pitaka? Code of conduct for the Sangha. Code of conduct for the Sangha. This is the Vinaya Pitaka. Are you there with me? No. No, you cannot tell that, Krishna. Can we say Sangha Thera was the earliest elections in India? I would not say that, Krishna, because you have elections even earlier. For example, in the pre-Maurya period, in some of the Mahajanapadas, which had a republican form of government, the king was elected, isn't it? We have discussed this. So in monarchies, you have the kingship was hereditary, whereas in a republic, the king was elected. So you have elections even before the Buddhists elected their Sangha presidents. Okay, are you there with me? Okay, right. So this is the first council. So remember this first council, where it took place, what was the reason why it was called, the venue, the patron king, the president, and the result. Yeah, that's what I said, Ankush. Then we come to the second council. Let me come to the second council. Now, second Buddhist council happened 100 years exactly after the first council. Look at the dates here. When did the first council take place? 483 BC. When did the second council take place? 100 years later, in 383 BC. So 100 years had lapsed. 100 years had lapsed. Now, which was the place? Vaishali. Vaishali was the place. Who was the patron king? Karl Ashoka. Karl Ashoka or Kakavarnin of the Shishunaga dynasty. He belonged to the Shishunaga dynasty. He belonged to the Shishunaga dynasty. Who was the president of the second council, Sabakami? Now look here. Understand this, please. Understand this. 100 years had lapsed since the death of the Buddha. And Buddha had made certain rules and regulations for monks and nuns to follow. So those rules had to be strictly followed by the monks and the nuns, because those rules had been laid down by the Buddha. But then 100 years had lapsed, and in this gap of 100 years, what had happened? What happened is some monks had made 10 new rules for themselves. They had digressed from the original teachings of the Buddha, and they had made 10 new rules for themselves. Who are these monks who had made 10 new rules for themselves? These are the Vajji monks. Understand this. These are the Vajji monks. The Vajji monks had made 10 new rules for themselves, and they were following those rules. And these 10 new rules became the object of discord. It led to quarrel among the Sangha members, because other Sangha members began to object. They said, why did you make 10 new rules for yourself? Buddha had laid down strict rules. You're supposed to follow those rules. These Vajji monks, or the Eastern monks, said that we are going to follow those 10 new rules. You cannot stop us from that. That led to a schism in the Buddhist Sangha. The Buddhist Sangha, for the first time, got split up or got divided into two parts. We have the Sthaviravadins or the Theravadins, who were strictly following the teachings of the Buddha. So you can see here, this is called the first schism. Theravadins or Sthaviravadins continued to strictly follow the teachings of the Buddha. These are the Western monks or the Avanti monks. They were from the region of Gujarat, Western area, Avanti, Kaushambi, Pathan in Gujarat. So they were the Western monks. And you can call the Theravadins or the Sthaviravadins as the traditionalists. You can call them as traditionalists or conservatives. Why conservatives or traditionalists? Because they were strictly following the teachings of the Buddha. They had not digressed from the original teachings of the Buddha. Whereas the Vajji monks, who had made 10 new rules for themselves, can be called as the progressives. You can call them as progressives or the modernists. You can call them as modernists. So, and these Vajji monks came to be called as Mahasangikas or Acharyavada. So, after 100 years, in the second council, we had the first schism or division in the Buddhist Sangha. So, Buddhist Sangha got divided into Sthaviravadins or Theravadins, who strictly continued to follow the teachings of the Buddha, as opposed to the Mahasangikas or Acharyavada, that is the Vajji monks who had made 10 new rules for themselves. Are you there with me? Clear? Did you understand? Did you understand this part? Hello, please raise your hands. Okay, now look here. Later, understand this. Later, from the Theravadins or Stavirvadins, 11 subsects rose. 11 subsects. 11 subsects were born from the Theravadins or Stavirvadins, and from the Mahasangikas, 7 subsects were born. So 11, these 11 plus 7 equal to 18. These 18 subsects, this is in course of time, not during the second council. It was much later. By the time the fourth council took place, Buddhism had about 18 subsects. 11 from the Stavirvadins or Theravadins and 7 from the Mahasangikas. Totally 18 subsects. And these 18 subsects were essentially Hinayana. These were essentially Hinayana, the followers of Hinayanism. I'll come to Hinayana later. Just hold on. Did you understand? Now, Ankush, we don't have the details about these new rules. What these new rules were? Basically, they were new rules made by the Vajjibongs, and they were apart from the rules made by the Buddha. Therefore, there was objection to these 10 new rules on the part of the Sthaviravadins or the Theravadins. They objected to those new rules. What those new rules are, none of the books tell us that. Can I move on, Ankush? Out of all of you, clear? Gunjan, wait. I'll come to Mahayana. Have some patience, Gunjan. Sabr karo, thoda sabr karo. Okay, we move on here. Then we come to the third council. Third council took place at Patliputra. It took place at Patliputra. Who was the patron king? Ashoka. Ashoka was the patron king. It took place in 250 BC. And we have a chairman and a deputy chairman, or a vice chairman here. Who was the chairman? Moggaliputta Tissa. Sorry, the president of this council was Moggaliputta Tissa. The vice chairman comes later in the fourth council. I'm sorry for that. So we have the third council, which took place at Pataliputra during the time of Ashoka. He was the patron king, the greatest of the Mauryas. And the president was Moggaliputta Tissa, who was a prince of Sri Lanka. He was a prince of Lanka, Sri Lanka. Now, what was the reason as to why Ashoka called this council, called this meeting? He called this meeting to decide who are the original or true followers of the Buddha, and also to spread Dhamma, also to send missionaries to spread Dhamma. So he brought in this concept of Dhamma. We have discussed Dhamma when I did Mauryan chapter. So, and incidentally, the Mauryan PPT has been uploaded. Some people had mailed me that the Mauryan PPT was not uploaded. That has already been done. I got a mail also before today's class. So please check up your your what do you call website. Bhuvanesh, you understand the class, whatever I'm telling you, and then go back and read and revise from textbooks. Read the PPT first. Try to recollect whatever has been done in the class. Whatever is not done in the PPT, please write down if you think it is relevant, important, and then go back and revise and then read the textbook. Yes, just one. Obviously, these 10 new rules were apart from the rules made by the Buddha. Buddha had not made these rules. Therefore, the traditional followers of Buddha objected to these new rules. Just one. Okay. Now we'll come back here. So, what was the reason for the third council to be called by Ashoka to resolve the disputes between the two groups as to who were the original or true followers of the Buddha and to send missionaries for propagating Dhamma? Now, what are the results of the third council? We have a third Pitaka which was written, Abhidhamma Pitaka. So, what is this Abhidhamma Pitaka? Abhidhamma Pitaka is the philosophical interpretation of the earlier two Pitakas. Abhidhamma Pitaka is the philosophical interpretation. Look at the first council. We have two Pitakas written. Ananda, you can see this. Ananda recited the Sutta Pitaka. Upali recited the Vinaya Pitaka. These are the two Pitakas. The third Pitaka, or the third book was written in the third council. That is the Abhidhamma Pitaka. Philosophical interpretation of the earlier two Pitakas. Philosophical interpretation of the earlier two Pitakas. Bhuvanesh, did you understand what I just now told you? Whatever I'm discussing in the class, and whatever you find important, whatever I'm writing, please write it down, right? Or you take the annotated PPTs, and then if you're not writing, that is, and then listen to the lecture again if you have the time. Revise the PPTs and go back and read the textbook. So that way, whatever doubts you'll have, that gets clarified by reading the textbook. That depends upon you, Bhuvanesh. Most of the things is there in the PPTs. Extra things which are not there for your clarification, I'm writing it down. Okay, whether to make written notes, it's up to you. It's good to have written notes. It's good to write short sentences, bullet points. It's good to have that. So this is Abhidhamma Pitaka. There's one result. Second is the Sthaviravadins. Understand this? The Sthaviravadins or Theravadins were certified as the original or true followers of the Buddha. They had not digressed from the original teachings of the Buddha. The Sthaviravadins or the Theravadins. So they were declared to be the original or true followers of the Buddha. Right? And we have the views of the non-Theravadins which were refuted. That is, the point of view of the non-Theravadins were rejected. And those refutations were compiled in a book called Kathavattu. Refutation means rejected. So refutation of the views of the non-Theravadins in a book called Kathavattu. And we have Ashoka sending missionaries to different parts of India and outside to propagate Dhamma. These are the results of the third council. Are you there with me? Clear? Hello? So three Pitaka. So here you see, what is the meaning of three Pitaka? These are three Pitakas. Somebody asked me earlier in the class, who was this? Was it Sakshi or is it Gunjan? What are the three Pitakas? These are the three Pitakas. You see here, is it Sakshi? Who asked me that about three Pitakas sometime back? You have Sutta Pitaka, Vinaya Pitaka, and Abhidhamma Pitaka. These together are called three Pitakas. Okay, somebody asked about three Pitakas. Did you understand three Pitakas? Clear? Okay. Any doubts here? Can I move on? Any doubts still here? So first council, second council, third council. Result, I told you, Bhimare, result is you have a third Pitaka which was added to the earlier two Pitakas, Abhidhamma Pitaka. That is number one. Number two, the Sthaviravadins or Theravadins. You can go to the come to the second council. Come to the second council chart. You see here, Theravadins or Sthaviravadins. They were strictly following the original teachings of the Buddha. They had not digressed from the original teachings of the Buddha. Therefore, the Sthaviravadins or Theravadins were certified as the true followers in the third council. Right? That is number two. Third is we have the rejection of the views of the non-Theravadins. That is, the Vajji monks' views were rejected, and those um, those arguments which were rejected were collected in a book called Kathavattu. And then we have Ashoka sending missionaries to propagate Dhamma. Dhamma Mahamattaras, a class of officers established by Ashoka were sent to propagate Dhamma to different parts of India and outside. This is the result of the third council. Sakshi, just hold on. I'll come to that. I'll come to Mahayana, Hinayana in some time. No, how can non-Theravadins means, yes, you can call that. You Mahasangikas or Acharyavada. That is the Vajji monks, the non-Theravadins. The views of the non-Theravadins were compiled. They were collected in a book called Kathavattu. That's Kathavattu. Kathavattu, not Kathavastu, Sakshi. Okay, then we come to the fourth council, fourth meeting. Now, fourth meeting took place during the period of Kanishka, the greatest of the Kushanas, in the first century AD. So the third or fourth council took place in the first century AD at Kashmir. Where in Kashmir? Kundalavana Vihara, Srinagar, Kashmir, at a place called Kundala Vanavihara in Srinagar, Kashmir. So it took place at Kundala Vanavihara, Srinagar, Kashmir. Who was the patron king? Kanishka, greatest of the Kushanas. Who was the chairman? Vasumitra. And who was the vice chairman? Ashwagosha. Now, what was the whole purpose as to why this council was called? To unify all the sects within Buddhism. I told you in course of time, totally 18 sects had been born out of Buddhism. So the whole idea was to unify all the sects within Buddhism. But then, what was the result of the fourth council? We have the discussions in Sanskrit. Discussions took place in Sanskrit, right? So the Buddhists adopted Sanskrit to discuss about Buddha, to propagate the teachings of the Buddha. That is very interesting. So they abandoned Pali in this council, in the fourth council, and they took to Sanskrit. And one of the reasons for the decline of Buddhism is this, because that way Buddhism automatically got separated from the masses. Sanskrit was not the language of the masses; it was Prakrit. And once they adopted Sanskrit, the common people felt very distant from Buddhism as such. We'll come to that in some time. Around the fourth council, we have a separate sect which was born in Kashmir. This is called Sarvastivada. So we have a separate sect called Sarvastivada sect, which was born in Kashmir, and the founder of the sect was Rahula Bhadda. He was the founder of the sect, or Rahula Bhadra. And we have a book called Mahavibhasha Shastra. It was written by Vasumitra, the chairman. He wrote a book called Mahavibhasha Shastra, which is basically a Sarvastivada textbook. It's basically a Sarvastivada text. Sarvastivada text. And we have the final division in the Buddhist Sangha into Hinayana, Mahayana. Okay, we have the final division, Sakshi. We have the final division in Buddhism into Hinayana, Mahayana. Buddhist Sangha got divided into Hinayana, Mahayana. We will discuss that in some time. Just hold on. Your question is not clear, Gunjan. Is Buddha is linked to Karatas? I don't know what you're talking. Can you frame your question properly, Gunjan? Ankush, I am dealing with Buddhism in a detailed manner, right? So please try to remember these are important things. They can ask you questions. They have asked questions, right? We will discuss the questions at the end of this chapter. So here we have the final division in the Buddhist Sangha into Hinayana, Mahayana. The effort to unite all the sects into Buddhism. It has one religion, failed, in other words. So Buddhism got divided to Hinayana, Mahayana. What's the difference between Hinayana and Mahayana? We'll come to that in some time. Buddha is linked to karate. Buddha is not linked to karate. We have Buddhist monks, uh, who learned kung fu. Kung fu is supposed to be derived from Kalaripayattu. So Kalaripayattu is one of the ancient martial dances of India, particularly Kerala, and the origin of kung fu is from Kalaripayattu. That's what it is told. In the Shaolin temple in China, we have some of the Buddhist monks from India who went there and taught Kalaripayattu to the to the Chinese Buddhist monks, I believe, and they evolved in course of time that into what is called Kung Fu now. That's what is told. But then um, Buddha never taught karate. Right? If you thought Buddha knew karate, I don't think so. No, Ankush. Bodhidharma is no. Don't go by the Tamil movie, Ankush. I think Surya is the hero. Don't go by the Tamil movie. Bodhidharma, was one of the Buddhist monks who introduced Mahayana Buddhism during the Gupta period into China, in China. Okay, now look here. So what are the various sects which became part of Hinayana? So some sects became part of Hinayana, some sects became part of Mahayana. So what are the sects which became part of Hinayana? Of course, Theravadins or Staviravadins, Sammatiyas and Sautantrikas. So Staviravadins, Sammatiyas, Sautantrikas became part of Hinayana. And then we have others which became part of Mahayana, like Mahasangikas, Sarvastivada, Purvashila, Aparashila, Chaityak, like that. So Mahayana, you have Mahasangikas, Sarvastivadin, Chaityak, Purvashila, Aparashila. So Buddhism got divided into two major sects, Hinayana and Mahayana. Are you there with me? Clear? A break I'll give you at 7 o'clock. Can I give you a break at 7 o'clock? We have been following this break at 7 o'clock, Bhuvanesh. Any doubts? Okay. Second result, second council, Bhimare. I've already told you, Bhimare. Second result is the Buddhism got divided into Staviravadins, Theravadins, and Mahasangikas. So those who, the Vajji monks had made 10 new rules for themselves. So they continued to follow those 10 new rules, and they came to be called Mahasangikas or Acharyavada. And whereas the original followers of Buddha's teachings came to be called Staviravadins or Theravadins. Second result of fourth council. So Mahavibhasha Shastra is a Sarvastivada textbook written by the President Vasumitra. And I told you around the fourth council, we have a separate sect within Buddhism called Sarvastivada sect, founded by Rahula Bhadra in Kashmir. Okay, third slide. Did you understand, Krishna? You don't have the slides with you. You don't have the PPTs with you. All of you, you don't have the PPTs with you. After class, they don't share it. Don't they share it immediately? They not even before the class. What about after the class? Okay, in the gap, I'll talk to them. Not immediately. Okay. Immediately is a joke, he says, Bimbre. Okay, I will ask them what is the reason for that. Okay. Krishna gets it after the class. How come Krishna is only getting it after the class? Bhuvanesh, yeah, you have to remember. I'll come to that, Bhuvanesh. Bhuvanesh, whatever I'm discussing in the class is relevant from the exam point of view. Otherwise, why should I waste my time discussing all these things? Okay. Because it is important I'm discussing. Otherwise, I wouldn't have discussed. Okay, Ankush, I will talk to them. Okay, now let us understand the difference between Hinayana, Mahayana. Let us understand the difference between Hinayana, Mahayana. Okay, Krishna, how do you get it after class immediately? Sakshi is asking you. Can you please ask Krishna how to get it as soon as possible? So Krishna is the only person who is getting it. How come? Krishna, what is the magic you're doing? Why papers after 22 are not uploaded? I don't know, Gunjan. That is not. I don't know how to answer that question. Only Krishna is getting. Probably you're not checking. Others are not checking it on the website. Only Krishna is checking it. Okay. Anyway, let us move on. Let us understand the difference between Hinayana Mahayana. Now, what is Hinayana? What is Mahayana? Understand this, please. So, what is Hinayana? Hinayana literally means lesser journey of Buddha's soul. Yana means vehicle. Understand this. Yana means vehicle. So, I'll use another page. So, Hinayana means lesser journey of Buddha's soul. Lesser journey of Buddha's soul. And Mahayana, what is Mahayana? Greater journey of Buddha's soul. So Hinayana, Mahayana. Bhuvanesh says, simply go to class and click on class notes. Your lecture session is available. Hari says, we checked it. Okay, fine. Thank you for that. Let us move on. Hinayana, Mahayana. Do you understand? Hinayana, Yana means vehicle. So Hina, lesser journey of Buddha's soul. Mahayana, greater journey of Buddha's soul. Now let us look at the differences between Hinayana, Mahayana. Now, what is Hinayana? Hinayanis are called no changers. What do you mean by no changers? They did not make any changes to the original teachings of the Buddha. Therefore, they're called no changers. Mahayanis, they made changes to the original teachings of the Buddha. Therefore, they're called pro changers. Okay, so Mahayanis are called pro changers because they made changes to the original teachings of the Buddha. Second, Hinayanis adopted Pali. So they continued to adopt Pali. Buddha used Pali to propagate his teachings, to spread his teachings. So Buddha used Pali, the Hinayanis continued to use Pali. But what about the Mahayanis? Mahayanis began to adopt Sanskrit, particularly from which council? Mahayanis began to use Sanskrit from which council? From the fourth council. Very good, Amanpreet. How can it be third council, Bhimare, Sakshi? Where are you? I told you they began to use Sanskrit from the fourth council, not from the third council, fourth council. Sharmi is right. Amanpreet is also right. So they began to adopt Sanskrit. Okay, now, next. The Hinayanis worship the symbols connected with the life of the Buddha. Understand this. The Hinayanis worship the symbols connected with the life of the Buddha. Now let me talk to you about the symbols. What are the symbols worshipped by the Hinayanis? So symbols connected with the life of the Buddha. So what are the symbols connected with the life of the Buddha? Birth, Buddha's birth. What is the symbol signifying Buddha's birth? Lotus and bull. So Hinayanis used to worship the lotus and the bull, connected with the birth of the Buddha. Birth. Then Buddha went away from the palace on an animal. What is an animal? He renounced the world, isn't it? Renunciation. Renunciation. He went away on an animal from the palace, horse. So they worship Kantaka, the horse. Kantaka. So they worship horse, in bracket Kantaka. So they worship the horse, that is Kantaka. Then Buddha sat under which tree and achieved nirvana? He sat under nirvana. Nirvana under which tree? People tree, isn't it? So they worship the people tree. People tree. Then death of the Buddha, parinirvana. They worship the stupa. Stupa. Now, what's a stupa? You see, when Buddha died, understand this, please. But I'll come to stupa in some time. The various parts of a stupa. How does a stupa look like? What is the purpose? What is the symbolic significance of each of those parts of a stupa? UPS has asked questions from there. I'll come to that. Stupa. Now, look, what is this stupa? Basically, it's a burial mound of the Buddha. Now, when Buddha died, what happened? His dead body was burnt, and his ashes were collected. Relics. Relics means what? Relics means the ashes of the Buddha, bones, fingernails, hair. So they are all called relics. So these relics were divided to 8 parts. These relics were divided to 8 parts. And then a semi-domical structure called a stupa was constructed. You see, a stupa looks something like this. It's a semi-domical structure like this. Okay. So this is an harmika. Then you have a umbrella here. This is called a stupa. And deep inside, this is a solid dome. It's not a hollow dome. It's a solid dome. And buried deep inside the stupa is a tabena. This is called a tabena. And inside that tabena is buried the relic of the Buddha. So ashes, bones, etc. of the Buddha is kept in a small pot. This pot is placed in the midst of the anda. This is called an anda. Anda means not egg. It is like an egg shape, but basically it's a semi-domical structure. So buried deep inside the anda is the tabena, which contains the relics of the Buddha. So when I come to stupa part, I'll talk about it. So the Hinayanis worship the stupa, uh, which marks the death of the Buddha. Are you there with me? Correct. Astia. Sakshi, you're right. His relics is kept there. The original stupas contain the relics of the Buddha. Later stupas contain the relics of a bodhisattva. Who is a bodhisattva? I'll come to that in some time. So these are the symbols. Did you understand? Now look here on your screen. Birth, lotus and bull. Why lotus? Hello, why lotus and bull? Lotus, I'm sure all of you know. Why lotus? Why lotus? Quickly. Mother's dream, very good. Mother, his mother got a dream and a white elephant came and gave a lotus to Mahamaya. Isn't it? That is lotus. Bull, why bull? Bull, because, understand this, Buddha narrates a story. I believe there was a bull, and that bull was spoken very harshly by its master. The bull was spoken very harshly by the master. So the bull refused to steadfastly listen to the master. It refused to listen to the master because he was spoken to harshly by his master. So through this story, Buddha gave a message that you should speak softly with people. If you speak softly, then things will be all right. So therefore, that is the bull. Birth, lotus, and bull. Did you understand? So lotus is worship, Gunjan, not the elephant. Then renunciation horse, nirvana people tree, and parinirvana stupa. Okay, now, so these are the symbols worshipped by the Hinayanis. Now the Mahayanis introduced idol worship. The Mahayanis introduced idol worship. And this is the greatest contribution of Buddhism to Hinduism. Please understand, the Hindus borrowed the idea of idol worship from the Buddhists, and this is the greatest contribution of Buddhism to Hinduism. So so earlier there were no idols of Hindu gods. So the idea of idol worship among the Hindus arose from the idol worship of the Mahayanis. Did you understand? So that is idol worship. They made idols of the Buddha and they worshipped the Buddha in the form of a god. Then the Hinayanis rejected the concept of a future Buddha. Hinayanis said Buddha was a great teacher and he died and he'll never be born again. So they rejected the idea of a future Buddha. They said Buddha will not be reborn again. Whereas Mahayanis brought in the concept of Bodhisattva. Mahayanis brought in the concept of Bodhisattva. Yeah, the Bodhi tree is also called the sacred fig tree. Sacred fig tree, Krishna, the Bodhi tree is the sacred fig tree or the people tree. Okay, now who is a Bodhisattva? Understand this. Who is a Bodhisattva? Bodhisattva. Now look here, understand this. Who is a Bodhisattva? Bodhisattva, now look here, I'll go back to this page. What was when Siddhartha Gautama was born, when Buddha was born, what was when he was a baby, as soon as he was born, he declared something. What did he declare? On your screen, you see here, I am the leader of the world. Understand this. I am the leader of the world. I am the guide of the world. This is my final birth. I am the leader of the world. I am the guide of the world. This is my final birth. What does it mean? It means that he had previous births. That means Gautama Buddha had previous births before he was born as Siddhartha. So who is a Bodhisattva? I'll come back here. Who is a Bodhisattva? Who is a bodhisattva? A bodhisattva, it refers to the previous lives of the Buddha. It refers to the previous lives of the Buddha. The previous lives of the Buddha. Previous 550 lives of the Buddha. Understand this. So before Buddha was born as Siddhartha, he is supposed to have taken 550 births. Understand this place. In one birth, he was a donkey. In another birth, he was a monkey. In another birth, he was a cow. In another birth, he was a maid servant, etc., etc. In every birth, Buddha is supposed to have done only good. And ultimately, he was born as Siddhartha. And in that life, when he was born as Siddhartha, he attained Nirvana and he became the Buddha. Did you understand? Hello, did you understand? So, Bodhisattva refers to the previous 550 lives of the Buddha. Right? Now, in one birth, I told you Buddha was a donkey. In another birth, he was a cow. In another birth, he was a maid servant, etc. I believe in all these births, Buddha did only good. And ultimately, he was born as Siddhartha. These 550 previous lives of the Buddha are contained in stories called Jataka stories. These are called Jataka tales or Jataka stories. These previous 550 births of the Buddha are called Jataka stories or Jataka tales. Now, there's another meaning to this. A bodhisattva, understand this, a bodhisattva is somebody who has all the qualities necessary to reach the status of a Buddha. Understand this, please. It's technical here. Please understand. Very simple also. Siddhartha, when he was born as Siddhartha, when Gautama Buddha, when he was born as Siddhartha, attained Nirvana. I'll write here. It's better. Now look here. Gautama Buddha after his 550 previous births, was born as what? He was born as Siddhartha. And once he was born as Siddhartha, what happened? He attained Nirvana. He attained Nirvana. And once he attained Nirvana, he became what? He became Buddha. Once he became Buddha, there is no rebirth for the Buddha. Did you understand? No rebirth. What did the baby declared? I am the leader of the world. I am the guide of the world. This is my final birth. I'll not be reborn again. So there's no rebirth for the Buddha. There's no rebirth for Siddhartha because he has attained Nirvana in that life and he became Buddha. Now, who is a Bodhisattva? A Bodhisattva is somebody who has all the qualities to become Buddha. See, Bodhisattva can also become Buddha, but he is a very compassionate being. Bodhisattva is full of compassion. He's full of compassion. If he becomes a Buddha, what will happen? He'll not be reborn on this earth. And Bodhisattva doesn't want to become a Buddha. Why he doesn't want to become a Buddha or reach the status of a Buddha? Because there's so much of suffering on this earth. There's so much of death. There's so much of bloodshed, pain, suffering on this earth. So being a very compassionate being, a Bodhisattva wants to take repeated births on this earth, so that in every birth, he can reduce the sufferings of mankind. That is the meaning of Bodhisattva. Did you understand? Did you understand? Please understand whatever I'm discussing. Please answer those things. I'll come to your doubts later. Please first answer whatever I'm discussing here. Have you understood or not? So I said Bodhisattva is somebody who's got a lot of compassion in his heart and mind. There's so much of death, destruction, suffering on this earth. So Bodhisattva has all the qualities to become a Buddha. But he doesn't want to reach the status of a Buddha. Because if he becomes a Buddha or reaches the status of a Buddha, there's no rebirth for him on this earth. Therefore, he voluntarily withdraws himself. And he wants to help people on this earth to attain nirvana. In fact, he wants to reduce their sufferings. So he's a very compassionate being. He wants to reduce the sufferings of mankind on this earth. And therefore, he wants to take repeated births on this earth. If he becomes a Buddha, then there's no rebirth for him on this earth. Yeah, voluntarily he withholds himself from reaching the status of a Buddha. Samajh mein aa gaya na? Hello, are you there with me? It's something like, understand this. It's something like, let us take a hypothetical example. There's a person called A. And this person, no, he can become an IAS officer. He can study along with you people, and he has got all the qualities to become an IAS officer, pass this UPSC exam and get first rank. But he doesn't want to join service. He just wants to, experience the process of writing the exam. Though he has all the qualities to pass the exam and maybe even get first rank and become an IAS officer. So here, what I'm trying to tell you is, Bodhisattva is somebody who has all the qualities necessary to become a Buddha, but he doesn't want to become a Buddha. Why he doesn't want to become a Buddha? Because if he becomes a Buddha, there's no rebirth for him on this earth. So therefore, he wants to take repeated births on this earth. Every time he wants to be born, so that in every birth he can reduce the sufferings of mankind. He's called a Bodhisattva. Did you understand? So he has all the qualities to become a Buddha. Purposely he withholds himself from becoming a Buddha so that he can reduce the sufferings of mankind. Understood now? Okay, that's called a Bodhisattva. So this is a concept brought by the Mahayanis. Bodhisattva is a concept brought by the Mahayanis. So they worship the Bodhisattvas. Next, the Hinayanis gave importance to the Sangha. They gave importance to Sangha, whereas the Mahayanis gave importance to the individual. Then the Hinayanis believe in individual salvation. Now go back to the last teaching of the Buddha. What was the last teaching of the Buddha before he died? Subject to decay are all component things. Strive earnestly for your salvation. I repeat, subject to decay are all component things. Strive earnestly for your salvation. Don't be attached to material things. Okay, because they lose their importance after some time. I gave you an example. A beautiful girl will lose her beauty after some time. A very handsome, charming man will lose his charm later. So don't be attracted to material things. You have to work very hard for your salvation, nirvana. This is what the Hinayanis believe. Believe in individual salvation. Nirvana will not come automatically. You have to work very hard for it. That's what the Buddha said. And even the Hinayanis believe in that. What does the Mahayanis believe? They say, Mahayanis, that nirvana is automatic. If not in this birth, that person will get nirvana in the next birth. If not in the next birth, in the subsequent births. So nirvana is automatic for everybody. If not in this birth, in the subsequent birth or births, that person will get it. And lastly, the Hinayanis, they don't believe in the concept of God and soul. They don't believe in God and soul. Buddha, they say that Buddha never spoke about God. We have told you, Buddha is called agnostic. He did not give any concrete statement regarding the absence or presence of God. Neither did he speak about soul. So they say there's no concept of God and soul. They don't believe in that. Whereas Mahayanis, they believe in the concept of God and soul. God is there, they say, and soul is also there, they say. So this is the difference between Hinayana, Mahayana. Are you there with me? Bhuvanesh, I'll give you the break, but did you understand whatever I just now told you? Just one voluntarily, how does he withhold nirvana? He will not want to achieve nirvana. If he achieves nirvana, then he becomes a Buddha. Then there's no rebirth for him. So he will not want to achieve nirvana. He will not sit under the tree and meditate. He will not follow some of the rules strictly. No, Sakshi, I told you, Buddha actually did not believe in the concept of soul. He says only the tendencies get transferred. Only the tendencies get transferred. Right? The tendencies get transferred. Are you clear with me? Did you understand whatever I just now told you? So Hinayanis only worship the symbols connected with the life of the Buddha, and they don't believe in a future Buddha. They don't believe in a future Buddha. Whereas Mahayanis not only believe in a in the previous lives of the Buddha, they also believe in a future Buddha. They worship the Bodhisattvas, and also they believe in a future Buddha. Believe in a future Buddha. Four differences. Yeah, I told you now, Bhimare. I've already told you that. No, the Hinayanis gave importance to Sangha, the monastic order, whereas here the Mahayanis gave more importance to the individual as such. The individual, right? Not to the Sangha as such, but to the individual. That person was given more importance than to the monastic order as such. Okay. So you go for your break. We'll continue this after I finish. No, just hold on, just hold on. Let us do the important bodhisattvas. Yeah. So puja bodhisattva means two things. One is the previous 550 births of the Buddha. The previous 550 births of the Buddha. And also it refers to somebody who has all the qualities to reach the status of a Buddha, but voluntarily withholds himself from reaching that status. So that he is born every time on this earth, and in every birth, he reduces the sufferings of mankind. Pooja, did you get me that? Clear, all of you? Okay. So let us look at the important bodhisattvas before we go for a break. Important bodhisattvas, Avalokiteshvara Padmapani. He's called the lotus bearer, Padmapani. Padma means lotus. So he's the lotus bearer, the god of compassion. So he's the Avalokiteshvara Padmapani. Manjushri, another bodhisattva with a book in one hand and a sword in the other. So he's supposed to drive away darkness, ignorance with his sword. So that is Manjushri. Then Vajrapani, the thunderbolt bearer, destroyer of evil. Vajra is thunderbolt. Amitabha, the father of heaven, Sukhavati, the western paradise actually. The father of heaven, Buddhist heaven is called Sukhavati. So Amitabh, Amitabh Bachchan, the father of the Buddhist heaven, Amitabha. Then Maitreya, the future Buddha, the Buddha who is yet to come. So seventh Buddha was Gautama Buddha. Eighth Buddha is this, Maitreya Buddha. 8 different Buddhas are there. I'll come to that in some time. Then Mahavairochana, the supreme cosmic Buddha. So these are the important bodhisattvas. Okay. Now you go for a break. Come back at 7:15. We'll meet at 7:15. Carry on. Yeah, you're right, Ankush. 7:15. We come back at 7:15. Carry on. Good evening, everyone. Can we continue the class? All of you are back, hopefully. Right. So we have discussed about bodhisattvas. Clear about bodhisattvas? If any doubts, I'll clarify again later. Okay. Then we'll move on. Now, somebody asked me about the various Buddhas. On your screen, all of you, look here. So these are the list of 8 Buddhas. The 7th Buddha is Gautama Siddhartha. So Sakyamuni Buddha or Gautama Siddhartha, you can see here on your screen. He is the 7th Buddha. Who is the Buddha who is yet to come? Maitreya Buddha. And who are the ones who preceded Gautama Buddha? On your screen, Vipashyan, Sikhi, Vishwavasu, Krakuchanda, Kanakamuni, Kashyapa. These are the what are known as Manshi Buddhas who have already incarnated on this earth. They have already incarnated on this earth and gone. So 7th Buddha was Gautama Buddha, Sakyamuni. The last is Maitreya Buddha, Buddha who is yet to come. Are you there with me? Clear? How do we know there will be a future Buddha, Bhimare? How do we know that there will be Kalki? Same way. So the 10th avatar of Vishnu is Kalki, Vishnu who is yet to come. So the 8th avatar of Buddha will be Maitreya Buddha, Buddha who is yet to come. So till he comes, fingers crossed. Right? Clear? These are the 8 Buddhas. Now, let me talk to you about another form of Buddhism which arose in Eastern India, the Vajrayana Buddhism. And I have given you a note here. You can see here on your screen, this is some extra information about Vajrayana Buddhism. No, yet to come Bodhisattva is not there. Yet to come Buddha is not there. Yet to come Buddha is this, Maitreya Buddha. Okay. Now, what is Vajrayana Buddhism? Let me talk to you about Vajrayana Buddhism. Vajrayana Buddhism. Vajrayana literally means vehicle of the thunderbolt. It means vehicle of the thunderbolt. Vajrayana, Yana is a vehicle, as told you. Vajra means thunderbolt. So, vehicle of the thunderbolt. So, this was a form of Buddhism which arose sometime in the middle of the 5th century AD, and it became quite popular by the 8th century AD. However, the peak of this Buddhism was from the 8th to the 11th century. And we have the Palas of Bengal, the Pala rulers of Bengal, who patronized this form of Buddhism. So it arose sometime in the middle of the 5th century AD, and by 8th century AD, it had become popular. But the peak was from 8th to the 11th century under the Palas of Bengal. So here, under Vajrayana Buddhism, the Buddhists worship the Taras. So they worship Taras. Who are Taras under Vajrayana Buddhism? Taras are the wife of the Buddha. They worship the wife of the Buddha. And wives of Bodhisattvas. Wives of Bodhisattvas. Now, so this is a Buddhism, Vajrayana Buddhism. Under Vajrayana Buddhism, you have belief in Tantra. They believe in Tantra, Mantra, black magic, invoking evil spirits, etc. So this is the form of Buddhism prevalent in Tibet. In Tibet, we have Vajrayana Buddhism. So Tibet, we have Vajrayana Buddhism, which is prevalent. So some of the important books of Vajrayana Buddhism are Guhya Sutra, Guhya Sutra, Guhya Samaja. These are important Vajrayana textbooks, Vajrayana texts, Guhya Sutra, Guhya Samaja, etc. So, so Tibet has Vajrayana Buddhism. Basically, there are two forms of Vajrayana Buddhism. There were two forms. One is Sahajayana, Sahajayana, and the other is Kala Chakrayana, Kala Chakrayana. So this is the form of Vajrayana Buddhism prevalent in Tibet. Kala Chakrayana and Sahajayana. Sahajayana is believed, so this was the form of Vajrayana Buddhism prevalent in India. It was prevalent in India, it is no more there. Sahajayana Buddhism. And Sahajayana is believed that one can attain moksha, that is nirvana, through sexual practices. One can attain nirvana through sexual practices. So you can say that these corruptions crept into Buddhism when Buddhism was on its when Buddhism was declining and it was weak. Already it had become weak. So Kala Chakrayana is a form of Vajrayana Buddhism prevalent in Tibet. And Sahajayana is a form of Vajrayana Buddhism prevalent in India. So Sahajayanists believe that nirvana can be attained through sexual practices. Did you understand? This is Vajrayana. This is about Vajrayana Buddhism. Ankush, Lakshmana Sena, the Sena succeeded the Palas. What makes you say that Lakshmana Sena was intolerant to Buddhism? Is there any reason for that? Yes, Gunjan, you're right. Osho Rajneesh also believed in that. But then, this is a form of, he probably copied Sahajayanism. Osho Rajneesh probably copied Sahajayanism. Are you there with me? So the Palas established a number of Vajrayana universities like Vikramashila, Udandapura, Jagadala. These are all Vajrayana universities which the Palas of Bengal patronized. So we can say that all these corruptions crept into Buddhism, like Tantra, Mantra, invoking evil spirits, black magic, sexual practices. Buddha had never spoken about all these things. So these corruptions crept into Buddhism when Buddhism was on its decline and it had become pretty weak. Okay, so this is about Vajrayana Buddhism. Are you there with me? Can I continue? Okay, thank you. Yes, Sakshi, Kala Chakrana is a specific form of Vajrayanism prevalent in Tibet. Sahajayanism doesn't exist. Sahajayanism doesn't exist now. The Vajrayanists, yeah, Hari, the Vajrayanists believed in worshipping of Taras. So you see, Shakti worship is pretty popular in the Eastern India, isn't it? West Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, Assam. Shakti worship is pretty popular even now. And probably the Buddhists were influenced by the prevailing Shakti worship in this area, in Eastern India. And they began to worship the Taras, that is the wife of the Buddha and wives of other bodhisattvas. Clear? Hari? Are you there with me? Okay, I move on. So there's so whenever I have given you an yellow background, this is meant for the student for extra information, for more clarity. Things are here to go through this. Then spread of Buddhism. You have a number of kings, merchants, traders responsible for spreading Buddhism. Buddhism has become a world religion, and Ashoka was largely responsible for spreading Buddhism outside India. It started from the time of Ashoka, and later it also spread. So Sri Lanka, we have Mahendra and Sangamitra, two children of Ashoka, who went with a sapling of the original people tree to Sri Lanka and introduced Thaviravada Buddhism, or Theravada Buddhism. So that is a form of Buddhism prevalent in Sri Lanka now. China, we have Kashyapa Matanga, then Kumara Jiva, Acharya Nagarjuna. They spread Mahayana Buddhism, and Buddhism became, during the Gupta period, we have a number of Buddhist monks also going to China, like Bodhidharma, Paramartha. So these are all Buddhist monks, Bodhidharma, Paramartha, Buddha Yashas, Dharma Yashas. So these are all monks from India who went to China during the Gupta period. So they went to China during the Gupta period and introduced Mahayanism there in that country. So mainly, of course, Kashyapa Matanga, Kumara Jiva, Acharya Nagarjuna. Then we have Nepal, Vasubandhu spread Mahayanism. Southeast Asia, we have Sri Gnana. Sri Gnana spread Hinayanism in Southeast Asia. And Tibet, Padma Sambhava, Atisha Dipankara. So these people, Santa Rakshita, they spread Vajrayanism in Tibet. So the various forms of Buddhism in various parts of the world. So then, of course, we have Menander, the greatest of the Indo-Greek kings, Menander or Milinda, who was converted to Buddhism by Mahayana Buddhism by his minister called Nagasena, and the dialogue between King Milinda and Nagasena is contained in a Pali book called Milinda Panha. So Menander was the greatest of the Indo-Greek kings, isn't it? Indo-Greek kings. We have done this as part of ancient India. And the book Milinda Panha talks about the dialogue between King Menander and Nagasena. Harshavardhana was the last great, considered to be the last great emperor of ancient India. He was converted to Mahayana Buddhism by Hyunsang. So Harsha was a Shaivite, you remember? He was a Shiva worshipper, converted to Mahayana Buddhism by Hyunsang, the second Chinese traveler to India. Then the Palas propagated Vajrayanism. They founded 3 universities, that is Vikramashila. They founded Vikramashila, then Odantapuri or Uddandapura, and Jagadala. So these are the 3 universities founded by the Palas. In South India, we have Acharya Nagarjuna. Acharya Nagarjuna established the Sri Parvata University. He established the Sri Parvata University at Nagarjuna Sagar, Nagarjuna Konda. So Acharya Nagarjuna established the Sri Parvata University at Nagarjuna Konda. Are you there with me? Krishna, I have already spoken about Milinda Panna. No, Bhimre, Nirvana and Kalachakrayana, all through mantra, tantra, invoking evil spirits, black magic, all those things. So Hinayana spread into Southeast Asia. Mahayanas are in the Far East. Far East. What's Far East? Far East is countries like Japan, Korea. They're all Far Eastern countries. So Hinayanism spread into Southeast Asia. Sthaviravada is the form of Buddhism in Sri Lanka, and Vajrayanism is in Tibet. Clear? Can I move on? Lot of things to cover. I have to be a little fast. Also, can I move on? Any doubts? Okay. Now, let us look at the causes for the decline of Buddhism. What are the various causes for the decline of Buddhism? And I'll be answering some of the questions which many people have asked here earlier. Then I'm sure, I may not be able to remember their names, but I know the doubts they have asked. So I'll be answering that by default when I discuss this. I told you, when I come to Buddhism, I'll discuss that. Causes for the decline of Buddhism. So what are the various reasons as to why such a popular religion once upon a time, namely Buddhism, declined rapidly? One is, of course, you have Buddhism was inspired by the spirit of reform. Buddhism was the one which aggressively criticized the rituals, the sacrifices, which had crept into the Vedic religion. But later, Buddhism, unfortunately, itself succumbed to many of the rituals and ceremonies. So many ceremonies and rituals engulfed or enveloped Buddhism, contributing to its decline. It became complicated, costly to follow Buddhism also because of these rituals and ceremonies. Number 2, Buddhists gave up Pali and adopted Sanskrit, particularly from the 1st century AD. from 100 AD, that is from the fourth council onwards, the Buddhists adopted Sanskrit, and automatically Buddhism got distant from the masses because people could not understand Sanskrit. Third is, of course, rich endowments given by kings and merchants to the sanghas and viharas. Corruption crept in. So a lot of money was flowing into the sanghas and viharas. I told you many people with dubious intentions, questionable intentions, join the sangha. So you see, you know, most of the people, many of the people who joined the sanghas did not join the sangha to propagate the teachings of the Buddha. Boarding, lodging was free there. Instead of being on the street, as well join the sangha. So you'll get a social life, right? You'll have monks with you. You can get friendly with the nuns also, and then you'll have a social life. You'll not be alone. So many people joined the sangha with questionable intentions, and their purpose was not to spread the teachings of the Buddha, just to make friends and have a social life. And many of the such monks and nuns engage in corrupt practices. It's disturbing the sanctity of the sanghas and viharas, contributing to the decline of Buddhism. So rich endowments and donations to sanghas and viharas, corruptions crept in. Then we have persecution by followers of other religions, like for example, the Sungas. The Sungas succeeded the Mauryas. So Pushyamitra Sunga is supposed to have persecuted Buddhists. Then we have Shashanka of Gauda of Bengal, the king of Bengal, cut off the Bodhi tree because Shashanka was a Shaivite. Similarly, the Hunas, many of the Huns who came during the Gupta period, after the Gupta period, the Huns were responsible for the destruction of the Gupta Empire. So many of them either became Hindus or Jainas. So the Huns also contributed towards persecuting the Buddhists. So you have Buddhists being persecuted by many people from other religions, like the Sungas, the Hunas, Shashanka. Then the avatar system of Brahmanism made Buddhism lose its popularity. Avatar system. You see, we have 10 avatars of Vishnu. You know that. So 10 avatars of Vishnu: Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narsimha, Vamana, Parashurama, Rama, Krishna, Buddha. So Buddha, understand this, Buddha was made the ninth avatar of Vishnu. Now the question is why? Why was Buddha made the ninth avatar of Vishnu? Please understand this. Very simple, very easy. You see, Buddhism in course of time had become very, very popular. And Buddha had promised nirvana to everybody, irrespective of sex or varna. So Shudras could attain nirvana, women also could attain nirvana. So therefore, you have a number of Shudras in increasing numbers joining Buddhism. They were converting themselves to Buddhism. So the Shudras were converting themselves to Buddhism. They were joining the Buddhist sanghas and viharas. Now there was a danger to the Vedic religion. So the Shudras were the fourth Varna, isn't it? They were the fourth Varna, fourth in the Varna scale, and there was a danger to the Vedic religion. The guardians of the Vedic religion, that is the Brahmins, the Brahmanas, they thought that if this migration of the Shudras into Buddhism continues, their religion will be in danger. The Vedic religion will be in danger. So what they did is they made Buddha an avatar of Vishnu. They made Buddha an avatar of Vishnu and told the innocent, ignorant, illiterate Shudras, why are you worshipping Buddha separately? As well worship Vishnu, because Buddha is an avatar of Vishnu. Buddha is a part of Vishnu. So Shudras believed these Brahmins because they were illiterate, ignorant, and they began to worship Vishnu instead of Buddha. So this way they were able to stop to a large extent this migration of Shudras into Buddhism. So the avatar system sounded the death knell of Buddhism. In other words, did you understand? No, Ankush. Bodhi tree was not cut by Tisarakshita. She tried to harm the Bodhi tree by wearing poisonous nails. Sudhanshu, no, that doesn't matter. This is what the history books tell us, that one of the reasons why Buddhism lost its popularity is this, because Buddha was made an avatar of Vishnu. Are you there with me? So instead of worshipping Buddha, Vishnu came to be worshipped by the Shudras, thinking that Buddha is a part of Vishnu. Clear? Are you there with me? That is called avatar system. Are you clear with that aspect? Avatar system. why this avatar system was made. Somebody had asked this long time back, and I've answered that question here. Okay, then of course we have the richness of monasteries attracting Turkish invaders. We have Bakhtiyar Khalji. Remember, have done medieval India. One of the generals of Muhammad Ghori was Bakhtiyar Khalji. So Bakhtiyar Khalji was responsible for the ending of the Sena dynasty there, Sena rule in eastern India. So Sena rule was brought to an end. Lakshmana Sena ran away from Lucknow, his capital, and Sena dynasty came to an end. And Bakhtiyar Khalji was the one who plundered all the Buddhist universities, Nalanda, Vikramashila, Somapura, Jaggadala, Paharpur. All those universities were destroyed, plundered, and looted. The Buddhist idols, Buddha's idols, were demolished, were broken up because believed in. They did not believe in idol worship. Bakhtiyar Khalji, was an iconoclast. He did not believe in idol worship. So Buddha's idols were smashed to pieces. All those sanghas and viharas were looted, and Buddhism practically disappeared from the land of its birth. So the richness of Buddhist monasteries attracted Turkish invaders. All these reasons contributed to the decline of Buddhism. Thank you, Hari. I have answered your question. Can I move on? Now let us look at the Ashtamahasthanas, 8 holy places connected with Buddhism. 8 holy places. Ashtamaha. Ashta means 8. Ashta. Ashta means 8. 8 holy places. 8 holy places of Buddhism. Why are they considered holy by the Buddhists? No, it did not harm it did harm, Ankush, it did harm um, when it loses its identity, or that means it loses not the respect part, the popularity part. Because the Shudras began to worship Vishnu, thinking that Buddha is a part of Vishnu. So that way Buddhism lost its popularity and position in India, and it became more popular outside India than within India. Okay, now let us come to the 8 holy places connected with Buddhism, connected with Buddha's life. Okay, Lumbini. Why Lumbini is considered to be holy by the Buddhists? Very easy. Lumbini is where Buddha was what? Born. Very good. Birthplace of the Buddha. So Buddha was born here. So therefore it's considered to be holy. Then Uruvela or Bodhagaya. Why Bodhagaya or Uruvela? Remember the old name also, please. Uruvela, also called Bodhagaya, because Buddha attained Nirvana. Bodhagaya, Bodhagaya. Buddha attained Nirvana there. Okay, then Isipatana. Why Isipatana or Sarnath? The first sermon in the deer park. So Buddha gave his first sermon at Isipatana or Sarnath. Kusinagar. Why Kusinagar? Thank you, Aditya. Very good. Then Kushinagar. Why Kushinagara? Death of the Buddha. Yeah, Parinirvana. Yeah, why is Buddhism popular in other countries? Because it is easy to follow, simple teachings of the Buddha, more ethical and moralistic in nature. And then the kings and rulers of those countries patronized Buddhism. They gave encouragement to Buddhism, right? And it became very popular because it was devoid of any rituals and sacrifices, etc. So it became very popular. Then look at other places which are considered to be holy by the Buddhists. What are the reasons? So I have put the keywords in the brackets. Understand this? Keywords. Shravasti, very Shravasti, Uttar Pradesh, UP. Now, Buddha performed twin miracles at Shravasti. What are the twin miracles performed by the Buddha? Understand this, please. What are the twin miracles? One miracle is Buddha is supposed to have appeared at different places at the same time. Hello, this is one miracle. He appeared at different places at the same time. For example, you are in Bombay. Let's say you're in Bombay. I'm in Delhi, right? And we are speaking to each other on the phone, and you're telling me that you are you're in a hall and listening to Buddha's discourses. And I am also telling you that I am also in a hall listening to Buddha's discourses. So we come to know that Buddha is at the same time at the same place. So this is one miracle. Did you understand? So Buddha was seen at different places at the same time. That is one miracle. Secondly, from his body emanated light, fire and water at the same time. These are twin miracles. From his body, you have fire and water emanating from the same time. So these are the twin miracles which Buddha performed at Shravasti. And we have the remnants of the oldest vihara at Shravasti, Jetavana Vihara. Jetavana Vihara remains are found here. Remains are here. This is the oldest vihara in India. Oldest vihara is this. Okay, did you understand? Shravasti. Then Rajagriha. Why Rajagriha is considered to be holy by the Buddhists? One is the Veluvana bamboo grove was Veluvana bamboo grove. There was a bamboo grove called Veluvana bamboo grove. So that was presented to the Buddhist monks by Bimbisara. So later a vihara was built here. A vihara was built here where Buddha gave sermons. So monks used to take rest in the shade of the Veluvana bamboo grove, which was donated to the Sangha by the Magadha king Bimbisar. And later a vihara was built here and Buddha gave sermons there, discourses there. This is Rajagriha. Clear? Then we come to Nalanda. Ankush, Pavapuri is not there in the list. Pavapuri, that is with respect to Vardhaman Mahavir. We'll come to that. Ankush, you're getting confused here. You focus on what I'm doing now. Ankush, did you get me? Pavapuri is respect to Jainism, not Buddhism. Then Nalanda. Why Nalanda is considered to be holy by the Buddhists? Look here. Buddha is supposed to have used a toothpick. So Buddha is supposed to have used a toothpick and he threw the toothpick on the ground. Miraculously, from the toothpick was born a mango sapling. A mango sapling grew from the toothpick. Soon it became a mango tree and a mango grove. So mango grove came into existence. Because of that reason, Nalanda is considered to be holy. And Sankasha. Why Sankasha is considered to be holy? Understand this. It is in UP, Sankasha or Sankisa. Now, Buddha's mother, Mahamaya, after she died, she was reborn as a god in the heaven, I believe. So she was born as a god in the heaven, Tushita heaven. So Buddhist heaven is called Tushita heaven. So Buddha arose from the earth. He rose from the earth. He went to Tushita heaven, instructed his mother. He gave teaching to his mother. And after finishing the teaching, finishing the teaching, after finishing, oh my God, after finishing the teaching to his mother, he landed on the ground. He landed on the earth at Sankasya. Therefore, Sankasya is considered to be holy. Are you there with me? Hello? Any doubts here? So, Buddha gave instruction, discourse to his mother in the Tushita heaven and again landed back on the earth at Sankasya. Therefore, Sankasya is considered to be holy. सबको समझ में आ रहा है ना? Hello, all of you? Clear? Any doubts here? Anything to be repeated? Okay, clear. Then we have other pilgrimage sites. What did you not understand, Hari? Sixth one, Bhimare says Rajagriha. Okay, Rajagriha is considered to be holy because we have Bimbisara donating the Veluvana bamboo grove for the purpose of rest for the monks. Monks used to take rest in the shade of the Veluvana bamboo grove. Later, a vihara was built there, and Buddha gave sermons in that vihara, discourses in that vihara. Sankasha, Hari, I repeat, Sankasha is holy because Buddha arose from the earth, went to the Tushita heaven where his mother had been reborn as a god. He instructed her, and then landed onto the earth, landed back on the earth at Sankasha. Therefore, Sankasha is considered to be holy. Lumbini is in Nepal, Tarai. I have done this, Ankush. Right? Kushinagar is in UP. Okay, other pilgrimage sites, we have Varanasi. Varanasi in Banaras. Okay, Varanasi, that is also considered to be holy. Varanasi. Kapilavastu, that is Tilor Court in Nepal, where his father was the head of the Sakya tribe, isn't it? Kapilavastu. His father was the elected ruler of Kapilavastu, that is Tilor, identified with Tilor Court in Nepal now. And Pipravaha, city in UP, where the Buddha grew up. So Buddha grew up in the city of Pipravaha in UP. Then Vaishali in Bihar. This is, there was a pestilence there. So there was a pest attack. And when Buddha entered Vaishali, miraculously the pestilence went away. And this was also the last major city visited by the Buddha before he died. Vaishali was the last place visited by the Buddha before he died. Second council also took place. But here, with respect to Buddhism, I'm talking about. Now, he landed on the earth at Sankasha, Mehta. Buddha landed on the earth at Sankasha. He went to the heaven, so he took off from some other place and he landed at Sankasha. Mehta, समझ में आ रहा है ना? Parinirvana is the death of the Buddha. Kushinagar. Okay. Then Ayodhya is also considered to be holy, also called Saketa, Ayodhya, an important city in the Mahajanapada of Koshala. So Buddha is supposed to have spent the monsoon months in Ayodhya. Buddha is supposed to have pestilence is pest attack. Okay, now let us look at the questions. 1997, pest attack, Bhimare, because of pest. You please Google pestilence, you'll understand. So can you answer the questions, please? Let us look at the questions. And from whatever I have discussed about Buddhism in detail, about life of Buddha, etc., let us try to answer the questions, including your ancient Indian knowledge. Milinda Panha is in the form of a dialogue between the king Menendra and the Buddhist monk. What? Nagasena. Okay, very good. Lagima. Next, the concept of eightfold path. The concept of eightfold path, that is Ashtanga Marga, forms a theme of what? Dharma Chakra Pravartana Sutra. That is the answer. The first discourse. It's part of the first sermon given by the Buddha in the Deer Park. So Dharma Chakra Pravartana Mudra. That is Dharma Chakra Pravartana Sutta. It is part of the Dharma Chakra Pravartana Sutta, the eightfold path. That is how to end suffering on this earth. How to end suffering. Then, 2001, which of the following presided over the Buddhist council held during the reign of Kanishka at Kashmir? So, who was the president of the fourth council? Who was the president? Vasumitra. And who was the vice president? Yogita, Shambhavi, Laghima, Sumo. Who was the vice president? Ashwagosha. Ashwagosha. Ashwagosha was the vice president of the fourth council. Okay, remember those things, please. Then, 2001, in ancient Indian Buddhist monasteries, a ceremony called Pavarala used to be held. What is the Pavarala ceremony? Occasion to elect the Sangha Paranayaka and two speakers? No. Confession by the monks of their offenses committed during their stay in the monasteries during the rainy season. That's the answer. Pavarala. We have done this. Right? Next. 2005. Which among the following was not a contemporary of the other three? So Bimbisar, Gautama Buddha, Prasenjit. These are contemporaries, not Milinda. Milinda is more in the post-Maurya period. So Bimbisar of Magadha, Prasenjit of Koshala, they were all disciples of Buddha. So answer is Milinda. Then, in which state is a Buddhist site Tabo Monastery located? So 2009 question, this is in Himachal Pradesh. So look here, I have made a chart for you. On your screen, all of you, I have made a chart for you. Just remember the chart. So what you can do alternatively is you take colored maps, you download colored maps from Google, or you get a printout, okay, and then you can mark it. Only the outline of, including the states, the outline of India map along with the state outlines. Then you can mark the state and the corresponding monastery located in that state. So for example, in Himachal Pradesh, we have all these monasteries: Nako, Tabo, Kai Gompa, Shashur, Sulgan Kyang. So these are all the monasteries located in Himachal Pradesh. In Ladakh, Jammu Kashmir, we have Matho, Alchi Gompa, Hemish, and Tikse. Leh Ladakh, Shankar, Sikkim, Lingdum, and Rumtek. Then Tawang in Arunachal Pradesh, West Bengal, Ghum, Karnataka, Bailukuppe. So these are the important monasteries in India. You don't need to go beyond this chart. So they're asking where is the Tabo monastery? Tabo is in Himachal Pradesh. Are you there with me? So go through that. Clear? Then Lord Buddha. Lord Buddha's image is sometimes shown with the hand gesture called Bhumi Sparsha Mudra. It symbolizes what? So Buddha's calling of the earth to witness his purity and chastity despite the temptations of Mara. That's the answer. Now tell me something. All of you students tell me. For you to answer that question, I had to tell you the Buddha story. I had to tell you the story of the Buddha in detail, just in case UPSC asks you different questions from the life story of the Buddha. Did you understand? So without telling the story, you wouldn't have been able to answer this question. Bhumi Sparsha Mudra. So that's the reason why I spent time telling the story. Okay, continue. Let's continue. With reference to the history of ancient India, which of the following was or were common to both Buddhism and Jainism? 2012. Jainism we are yet to do. We'll come to Jainism soon after this. Avoidance of extremities of penance and enjoyment. So this is not common to both Buddhism and Jainism. Avoidance of extremities is common to Buddhism, not Jainism. Jainism believes in extremities, punishing the body and the mind by denying food, water, sleep. Jainism believes in that, not Buddhism. Buddhism is middle path, okay, not extremities. So therefore, this is wrong. Indifference to the authority of the Vedas. Both Buddhism and Jainism were indifferent to the Vedas. That's correct. Denial of efficacy of rituals. Both did not believe in the helpfulness of rituals. So therefore, the third statement is also correct. So what are common to both Buddhism and Jainism? 2 and 3. That's the answer. Okay, thank you. Now let me move on. 2013 question. Which one of the following describes best the concept of nirvana in Buddhism? The extinction of the flame of desire. That's the answer. Look at the other choices. The complete annihilation of self, a state of bliss and rest, a mental stage beyond all comprehension. The extinction of the flame of desire. That's the answer. A. Then 2013 question. Some Buddhist rock cut caves are called chaityas, while others are called viharas. What is the difference between the two? So we are yet to do art and architecture. In art and architecture, we will be discussing in detail about viharas and chaityas. But chaitya and vihara both are found in a cave. Please understand, both are found in a cave. It's a man-made cave. So you have a hill, a rocky hill, and the monks have scooped out caves. And Chaitya is a Buddhist prayer hall found in a cave. Chaitya is a place of worship. Vihara is where the monks or the nuns used to stay. Vihara is the dwelling place of monks and nuns, not just monks, even nuns. Vihara. Okay, right. I have put a picture of a vihara. You can see here. This is how a monastery looks like. Vihara or a monastery. So they have taken vows, religious vows, and they stay in this monastery. Monks. And I have given you a chart. Understand this? I have given a chart. You don't need to go beyond this. So important monasteries in India, which state they are located, and the name of the monastery. They're not importance. I've given you. Importance might not be very important, but anyway, I have given you that. What is the importance of each monastery? Just remember the name of the monastery and which state it is located, which place it is located in India. That should be sufficient. Hemesh Monastery in Ladakh, Jammu Kashmir, Tikse in Leh Ladakh, etc. Alchigompa in Leh Ladakh, Shankar in Leh Ladakh. In a sequential order, I've gone. So Matho in Leh Ladakh, Tawang in Arunachal Pradesh is the largest monastery in India. Tawang in Arunachal Pradesh. Then Sulgan Kyang in Himachal Pradesh. This is the headquarters of the Dalai Lama. The Tabo Monastery in Himachal Pradesh. Nako in Himachal Pradesh, etc. Shashur, Kaigompa, then Lingdom in Sikkim, Rumtek in Sikkim, Ghum in West Bengal, Bailakuppe in Karnataka, Mindroling in Tibet, Kanheri in Maharashtra. So these are the important monasteries in India. Are you there with me? Ankush, I said in Buddhism, there's no extremities. In Jainism, it believes in extremities. Punishing the body by denying it food, water, sleep. Jainism believes in it, not Buddhism. It is a middle path. Do you understand, Ankush? You see, Ankush, Buddha, all the students also. Now look here. What did Buddha do initially with his five accomplices? They punished themselves by denying food, water, sleep, and they had become like skeletons. Ultimately, what happened? Sujata gave rice and milk to Buddha, and Buddha ate rice and milk. He got back his energy, and then he took a bath, and then he started for meditation, and he attained nirvana. So Buddhism believes in the middle path, not in extremities. Jainism believes in extremities. Did you understand? Okay, good. So this is how a chaitya looks like. I'll come to chaitya and the various parts of a chaitya, important chaityas, etc. But basically, a chaitya is a Buddhist prayer hall found inside a cave, and you have a small stupa inside. It's called chaitya griha. It's called chaitya griha, where monks congregate for worship. So they'll sit here. They'll sit here, the monks, and they'll meditate and they'll pray. So that's called a chaitya. And I have given you important chaityas. Again, I have made a chart for your convenience. Important chaityas. Most of them are found in present-day Maharashtra, in the Western Ghats. So Karle in Maharashtra, Nasik in Maharashtra, Junnar, Bhaja, Betsa, Pitalkhora, etc. So these are the important chaityas in India. Okay, you don't need to go beyond this. You can just stick to the PPTs and the information I've given there. That should be more than sufficient. Are you there with me? Viharas, chaityas, clear? What are the different parts of a chaitya, etc.? I'll do it when I do art and architecture. Then we go to the next question. Which of the following kingdoms were associated with the life of the Buddha? So you see here, they have repeated this question. 2014, they had asked this question, and 2015 also they have repeated the same question. So which of the following kingdoms were associated with the life of the Buddha? So we have done the story of the Buddha. We have two kings who became the disciples of the Buddha, Koshala, Prasenjit of Koshala, isn't it? Prasenjit of Koshala and Bimbisar of Magadha. These two became the disciples of the Buddha. Therefore, the answer is 3 and 4. 3 and 4 only. That's the answer. Next, with reference to religious history of India, consider the following statements. 2016. The concept of Bodhisattva is central to the Hinayana sect of Buddhism. Yes or no? The concept of Bodhisattva is central to the Mahayana sect of Buddhism, not Hinayana. Bodhisattva is a compassionate one on his way to enlightenment. Yes or no? Yes. Is a very compassionate one on his way to enlightenment. Bodhisattva delays achieving his own salvation to help all sentient beings on their path to it. That's also correct. So, which of the statements are correct? 2 and 3 are correct. They're asking which are correct. Clear? Yeah, Bodhisattva. We have explained Bodhisattva. Then, 2018 question. With reference to Indian history, who among the following is a future Buddha yet to come to save the world? Such a easy question, Maitreya. Maitreya Buddha. Bodhisattva is option 1. You're talking about the 12th question, Gunjan. Gunjan, you're talking about the 12th question. Bodhisattva is a Mahayana concept. The Hinayanis don't believe in a future Buddha, isn't it? So therefore, it's a Mahayana concept, not Hinayana concept. Okay. Then consider the following 2019 question. Deification of the Buddha, that is praying to the Buddha, treading the path of Bodhisattvas, image worship and rituals. Which of the above is or are the feature or features of Mahayana Buddhism? All the three. Worshipping Buddha, treading the path of Bodhisattvas, image worship and rituals. So 1, 2, 3 is the answer. Then 2020 question. With reference to the religious history of India, consider the following statements. Sthaviravadins belong to the Mahayana Buddhism. Hello, Sthaviravadins belong to the Mahayana Buddhism. So we have done, the different subsects of Buddhism, isn't it? In the second council, Buddhism got divided to Sthaviravadins or Theravadins and Mahasangikas or Acharyavada. Sthaviravadins or Theravadins continued to strictly follow the teachings of the Buddha, and later they became part of Hinayanism. Therefore, the first statement is wrong. Sthaviravadins belong to Hinayana Buddhism, not Mahayana Buddhism. Then Lokattaravadin sect was an offshoot of the Mahasangika sect of Buddhism. This is correct. The deification of Buddha by Mahasangikas fostered Mahayana Buddhism. This is also correct. So that how many statements are correct? 2 and 3 are correct. So Lokattaravadin is a part of the Mahasangikas. You can see here, I have mentioned the answer here. So Lokattaravadin means those who follow the supramundane. It's one of the schools that emerged from Mahasangika. Right? So it is part of the Mahasangikas, Lokattaravadin. And deification of Buddha, that is worship of Buddha by Mahasangikas, fostered Mahayana Buddhism. That is also correct. So 2 and 3 is the answer. Then we go on to another question, 2020 question. With reference to the cultural history of India, which one of the following is the correct description of the term paramitas? So I believe, understand this, what is paramitas? Before a person becomes a bodhisattva, he should have certain qualities with him. Before a person becomes a bodhisattva, he should have certain traits or qualities with him. That's called paramitas. So it is perfections whose attainment led to bodhisattva path. What are the paramitas? You see here, these are the paramitas: generosity, morality, patience, energy, meditation, wisdom. So to gain Buddhahood, a Buddhist must achieve both perfect compassion and perfect understanding. Right? So a person who wants to be a bodhisattva, he should have all these 6 paramitas or perfections. He should be generous, morality, patience, energy, meditation, wisdom. So that's called paramitas. So perfections whose attainment led to bodhisattva path. Then, which of the following is correctly matched? Dharma Chakra Pravartana. Dharma Chakra Pravartana is what? The first sermon, isn't it? This is not correct. Sambodhi, the first sermon of Buddha, wrong. Sambodhi is Nirvana. Mahavinishkramana, the great departure, not enlightenment. Mahaparinirvana, death of the Buddha. So Parinirvana, Mahaparinirvana is used interchangeably. So it means death of the Buddha. Mahaparinirvana, Parinirvana. Then, in which of the following cities Gautama Buddha did not have sermons? So did not give sermons. So Rajagriha is right. Shravasti, Sarnath, not Amaravati. So you have an Amaravati in Andhra Pradesh and you have a Amaravati in Maharashtra. Buddha did not visit both. So he never visited Andhra or Maharashtra. So Amaravati is not correct. Okay. Then, which of the following events of the life of the Buddha did not occur on a full moon day under a peepal tree? So you know what happened on a full moon day. He was born on a full moon day. He died on a full moon day. And he attained nirvana, enlightenment, on a full moon day. So you know these 3. What did not occur? Dharma Chakra Pravartana. The first sermon. The first sermon did not happen on a full moon day. Birth, Sambodhi, Mahaparinirvana. Then match the following: Buddhist missionary and country. Kashyapa Matanga, Tibet, isn't it? Sorry, China. Kashyapa Matanga, Acharya Nagarjuna, they all went to China. Atisha Deepankara, Tibet. Sri Gnana, Southeast Asia. And Mahendra and Sangamitra went to Sri Lanka. So that is a match. They can ask you questions like this also. Then with reference to Buddhism, consider the following statements. It emerged in India around the 3rd, 4th century BC. Please answer this question, please. 21st question. It emerged in India around the 3rd, 4th century BC. First statement, is it correct or wrong? Sakshi, you have got it wrong. It emerged in the 5th, 6th century BC, not 3rd, 4th. Ankush is also wrong. Pushyamitra is said to have renovated and built many Buddhist stupas, Buddhist monasteries and learning centers. No. Pushyamitra Sunga was supposed to be a persecutor of Buddhists. He's supposed to have destroyed 84,000 stupas built by Ashoka. Therefore, the second statement is wrong. Danyakataka flourished as a prominent Buddhist center under the Mahasangikas. This is correct. Danyakataka is nothing but Amaravati, which is likely to be the capital of Andhra Pradesh. Amaravati. So it flourished as a prominent Buddhist center under the Mahasangikas. That is right. So only one statement. They're asking how many statements are correct. Only one is correct. That is the third statement is correct. And the answer is here. So Danyakataka, Nagarjanakonda, they're all in the Guntur district of Andhra. Right? And it's an educational center from ancient times, Guntur. So Danyakataka flourished as a prominent Buddhist center under the Mahasangika. This is right. So then, mains question, you see this mains question here. Pala period is the most significant phase in the history of Buddhism in India. Enumerate 2020. So we look at the questions later, the model answers, all the model answers from 2013 will be shared with you. You can always improve upon that answer, or you can write a better answer than that. But I have just given you some pointers as to how you could answer those questions. So Pala period, Palas, you understand, ruled from the 8th to the 11th century. In Eastern India, they were patrons of Vajrayana Buddhism, right? And we have a number of universities, Buddhist universities, Vajrayana Buddhist universities established by the Palas. Like, for example, Dharmapala founded the Vikramashila University, the Udantapuri, Jaggadala, etc. He built, Devapala, the greatest of the Palas, built the Mahabodhi temple at Gaya, where the Buddha is supposed to attend his nirvana or enlightenment. Many students from Southeast Asia and other parts of East Asia came visiting as students to these universities. And once they finished their studies, they went back with mementos, including Pala miniature paintings. You have Buddhist, bronze statues, which was cast by the Pala bronzesmiths according to the Sirpenu technique. So all these were taken away by the students to their countries as mementos. So all these things can be mentioned and in this particular answer. Pala period is the most significant phase in the history of Buddhism in India. Enumerate 150 words, 10 marks. So I just gave you some pointers. So that is what you write. Right? This is about Buddhism. We have finished about Buddhism. Let us talk about Jainism. So I have given you some extra points here. You can see this. Some extra information about Tibetan Buddhism. I have given some information about Tibetan Buddhism, right? About the Dalai Lama, right? Then about Tathagata. What is Tathagata? I have told you this. Tathagata, another name for Buddha, one who has come and therefore one who has to go. Then about mudras, various mudras. These are the various mudras. Buddha is always shown in 4 positions. Either he's shown standing, or walking, or sitting, or reclining. And these are the various mudras, hand positions of the Buddha, dispelling fear, meditation, teaching, etc., or calling the earth to witness. So he's either sitting on one leg like this, crossed leg, 1 foot over the thigh, or both the legs over the thigh, both the feet over the thigh. So different mudras are there. So go through this. Very interesting. Then there was a small article about Vipassana meditation. So Vipassana meditation, is pretty popular nowadays. It is supposed to have been taught by the Buddha, Vipassana meditation, right? And it was introduced into India by S.N. Goenka. So S.N. Goenka, he was the one who, he was born in Burma, and he was suffering from migraines. And he learned Vipassana, and he got cured of migraines, and he introduced Vipassana meditation into India. It's supposed to be taught by the Buddha. Vipassana means seeing things as they really are. So do learn meditation, learn to calm. Basically, it's about breathing. Meditation is not nothing to do with any religion as such. It's about breathing, slowing down the pace of your heart and mind. So when you take deep breaths, what happens? The mind slows down, and you focus on the breathing part. It helps you. When you're preparing for an exam like UPSC, you'll be under a lot of pressure, tension. When the exam approaches, you have prelims, mains, interview. So it's very necessary to keep a very calm mind. Positive self-talk is also important. Apart from techniques like meditation. So please learn meditation. Even 5-10 minutes of meditation will help you to calm down. And when you're calm, you can take better decisions, and you can handle the situation better. Otherwise, you'll get worked up, and then you can make mistakes at that point in time. Okay, so this is about. Clear? Are you there with me? So this is about Buddhism. This is about Buddhism. Any doubts here? So we will start with Jainism. Pari, I cannot help it. I have class at 8:30. How can I stop the class? How can I stop the class? Um, I have not come across that, Hari. I am not able to. I'll not be able to answer that question. Is Nagasena, who protects Buddha with 5 heads, um, is there a statue of Buddha with 5 heads? I know about Mahavira. How I know about Jain Tirthankaras, but about Buddha, I have not seen anything like that. Okay, we'll come back here. Okay, what do you know about Jainism? So let's start with Jainism. What do you know about Jainism? Whatever you know, can you please can we brainstorm about Jainism? All of you, whatever you know, please. Mahavira was the founder. Okay, Sumo, Ankush, Mahavir Jain, right? Then they don't eat garlic and onion. Okay. Digambar, Shwetambar, okay. Sumo, they are very sensitive, even not kill bacteria. Bhimare says, no violence, founder of Jainism, very strict compared to Buddhism. Krishbhadev, 24 Tirthankara, close to my vicinity in Udaipur. Gunjan, 24 Tirthankara is Mahavir, isn't it? Very extreme path. Okay, 4 types of. Buddha was a contemporary of Mahavira, Alfia, very good. Okay, you know quite a lot about Jainism. Let's talk about Jainism. It's a very interesting story about Jainism. Let's talk about Jainism. So Jainism is slightly older than Buddhism. Please understand, Jainism is slightly older than Buddhism. Both were born in the 6th century BC. Both were born in the 6th century BC. Both Buddhism and Jainism, but Jainism is slightly older than Buddhism. Both Buddha and Mahavira were contemporaries. Both Buddha and Mahavira were contemporaries, but they never met each other. They never met each other. Now, Jains believe, understand this, Jains believe that there are 24 Tirthankaras. In their religion, there are 24 Tirthankaras. Now, what is the meaning of a Tirthankar? Understand this. What is the meaning of Tirthankar? Tirthankara. What is the meaning of a Tirthankara? Now, what is the meaning of Tirthankara? Tirthankara means ford maker. Ford maker or bridge builder. Bridge builder across the stream of existence. Across the stream of existence. That is the meaning of Tirthankar. Let me explain this. Tirthankara means fjord maker or bridge builder across a stream of existence. Now understand this. Now this is the river of life. You see, this is the river of life, right? This is the river of life. This is life. And we are all born here. And one day or the other, we are going to die. All of us are born, and one day or the other, we are going to die. Now, a Tirthankar is somebody who will build a bridge for you. He will show you the right path, in other words. So he will build a bridge for you so that you can easily cross over this life from birth till death. Are you there with me? That's the meaning of Tirthankara. Fjord maker, bridge builder across the stream of existence. Can you raise your hand? You understand? That's the meaning of literal meaning of Tirthankar. Okay. So he will show you the right path. The Tirthankara is somebody who will show you the right path from birth till death. Now, Jains believe that there are 24 Tirthankaras. There are 24 Tirthankaras. So I have already explained to you what is the meaning of a Tirthankara. Before a person becomes a Tirthankara or reaches the position of a Tirthankara, he is supposed to go through some preliminary stages. Like, for example, before you people become a bureaucrat, IAS, IPS officers, etc., you have to pass prelims, then mains, then interview, and then you go for training, and then you become a IAS, IPS, or whatever, isn't it? So here, like that, you have to go through these stages. First of all, you are a sadhu, strict monk. So you are a sadhu, strict monk. Then upadhyaya, teacher state. Then acharya, professor. Then arhat, most qualified one. You have to go through these stages before you reach the status of a Tirthankar. Fifth stage is Tirthankar. So 4 preliminary stages before you become a Tirthankar. Sadhu, Upadhyay, Acharya, Arhat, and lastly Tirthankara. Now, Jains believe, understand this please, Jainism believes that there are how many Tirthankaras? 24 Tirthankaras. 24 Tirthankaras. And they give us the names of these Tirthankaras along with their symbols. Tirthankaras, and each of these Tirthankaras have their own symbols. But please understand, history doesn't recognize the first 22 Tirthankaras. Now, I'll give a small disclaimer. There may be some of you students who may be Jains, right? With due respect to Jainism, whatever I'm telling you is there in history books. So whatever I'm telling you is from history books. It is not my own history. It is the history written by scholars and researchers. And whatever I'm telling you is only from there. So therefore, don't take it otherwise. Jainism believes there are 24 Tirthankaras, but historians don't agree to the existence of the first 22 Tirthankaras. They say the first 22 Tirthankaras are mythological characters. They are mythological characters. We do not have any historical proof regarding the existence of the first 22 Tirthankaras. We definitely know about the 23rd Tirthankar, Parshvanath, and 24th Tirthankar, Mahavir. But regarding the first 22 Tirthankaras, we do not have any historical evidence. And therefore, history doesn't recognize the first 22 Tirthankaras. Okay? Now, on your screen, look here, please. Rishabhanath. So, Rishabhanath is the first Tirthankara, or also called Adinatha. Adinatha. His symbol is the bull. Ajitanatha, elephant. Sambhavanatha, horse. Abhinandanatha. So you don't need to remember these 24 Tirthankaras. Let me not scare you. I'm just going through the list of these Tirthankaras. So don't worry about it. Even if you forget, it doesn't matter. Abhinandan, just remember the 23rd and the 24th Tirthankaras and the first Tirthankara. Who was the first Tirthankara? Rishabhanatha. Then Abhinandananatha, monkey. So that was a symbol. Sumatinatha, goose. Padmaprabha, lotus, etc. Suprashvanatha, swastika. Chandraprabha, crescent moon. Pushpadanta, crocodile. Shitalanatha, kalpavriksha. Shreyasansanatha, rhinoceros. Shreyans Sanatha. Then Vasupujya, buffalo. Vimalanatha, boar. Anantanatha, porcupine. Dharmanatha, Vajra. Shantinatha, deer. Kuntunatha, goat. Aranatha, fish. Mallinatha, Kalasha. Munisuvrata, tortoise. Naminatha, blue water lily. Neminatha, Shanka, that is conch shell. Parshvanatha, snake. Mahavira, lion. So these are the 24 Tirthankaras. right? Now, as I told you, regarding the first 22 Tirthankaras, history doesn't recognize them. They're considered to be mythological characters. Who is considered to be the 24th? Sorry, understand this. Jainism is the consolidated knowledge or teachings of all these 24 Tirthankaras. Jainism is the consolidated knowledge of all the 24 Tirthankaras. And the first Tirthankar, the traditional founder of Jainism, the traditional founder of Jainism is supposed to be Rishabhanath or Adinatha. You can see on your screen the first Tirthankara, Rishabhanath or Adinatha. So his symbol is the bull. You can see symbol is the bull, and he is considered to be the traditional founder of Jainism. Traditional founder is the first Tirthankara. Then 22nd Tirthankar was Arishtanemi or Neminatha, and we do not have any information, historical information about the first 22 Tirthankaras. Therefore, they are considered to be mythological characters. The 23rd Tirthankara was Parshvanath. You can see here, he has the symbol of a snake. So you have a snake, that was a symbol. He is considered to be the historical founder of Jainism. So traditional founder is the first Tirthankara, Rishabhanath. Historical founder is Parshvanath. And we definitely know about Parshvanath. We definitely know about Parshvanath. Parshva, 23rd Tirthankar. He lived 250 years. Lived 250 years before Mahavira. He lived 250 years before Mahavir. He was a prince of Kashi or Varanasi. He was a prince of Kashi. Then his father was Ashvasena, the king of Kashi. So Ashvasena, the king of Kashi. Mother was Vamala Devi. Okay, Vamala Devi. And Parshva he founded a sect called Nirgrantha. Understand this. Parshvanath was the founder of a sect called Nirgrantha. Nirgrantha means free from fetters. Understand this? Free from fetters. What is fetters? Chains. What are fetters? Fetters means chains. And we are told that Vardhaman's parents, Vardhamana Mahavira's parents, were the followers of the Nirgrantha sect. And Parshva is the person who gave the first 4 principles. He gave 4 principles of the Nirgrantha sect, which later merged into Jainism. So Nirgrantha sect, he was a founder of the Nirgrantha sect, and this sect, Nirgrantha sect, later merged into Jainism. And Parshva is considered to be the person who gave the first 4 principles. He gave 4 principles for the Nirgrantha sect, which also became the 4 principles of Jainism, the first 4 principles of Jainism. So what are the 4 principles given by Parshva as part of his teachings? Satya, Ahimsa. Understand this? Satya, Ahimsa, Asteya, and Aparigraha. Satya, do not speak lies. Satya is do not speak lies. Ahimsa, do not commit violence. Then Asteya, what does the meaning of Asteya? Literally it means non-stealing, but actually it means not to receive anything which is not freely given. I'll repeat it, just hold on. Asteya means not to receive anything which is not freely given. Aparigraha is non-possession of wealth. So these are the 4 principles given by Parshva. I go back to Parshva here on your screen. Parshvanath, 23rd Tirthankar, considered to be the historical founder of Jainism. Symbol is a snake. Lived in the 8th century. He was a prince of Kashi. His father was Ashvasena, the king of Kashi. Mother was Vamala Devi. And he renounced the world at the age of 30 years. He became a sannyasi, renounced the world at the age of 30 years and founded a sect called Nirgrantha sect, free from fetters. Now, what is the meaning of fetters here? All of you, Can you raise your hands? Have you understood till here whatever I have done about Jainism? Whatever I have done, have you understood? Can you raise your hands? Okay, now look here. Nirgrantha sect means free from fetters. Fetters means chains. Now, what are the things which bind a person to this worldly life? Those are the chains. For example, when you have a, so let us say there's a person called A. All of us, let us take the example of all of us. What are the things which bind us to worldly life? Our parents, our house, our brother, sister, friends, relations, cousins, uncles, aunts, your dog, your cat, whatever, your bike, scooter, car, etc. So these are chains which bind a person to this worldly life. You might say in anger, you might fight with your parents, argue with your parents, and you say, I'll get out of my house, I'll get out of this house, I'll never come back. What will they say? Get out, they'll say. And you might go for when you go out, you might be very angry, go out of the house, and after some time, there's a change in your mind, you don't know where to go, you come back, and you say sorry, and you get into the house. Easy to say, I'll get out of this house, I'll not come back. But to really do it is difficult. So there's a saying in Marathi language, the English translation is this: easy to climb the Sahyadri mountains, but difficult to cross the threshold of your house. It is easy to climb the Sahyadri mountains, Western Ghats, but it is very difficult to cross the threshold of your house and go away. So here, a Nirgrantha is somebody who has broken all these shackles, all these chains. He has cut away all his worldly attachments, cut away all his chains. That is, he has cut away his connections with his family members, father, mother, brother, sister, etc. So he's cut away all his chains which bind a person to this worldly life, and is a free bird. That's the meaning of Nirgrantha, free from fetters. Did you understand? So here, Satya, I'm coming to that. Satya is what? Satya is speak the truth. I'm coming to this. See this? So Parshva found a sect called Nirgrantha, free from fetters. Then he's titled Purushadaniya. Parshva gave 4 principles. What are the 4 principles given by Parshva? See here, Satya. Satya, do not lie. Ahimsa, do not commit violence. And please understand here, ahimsa is not just physical violence. It is also mental violence. For example, you may be sitting in the class and you may be cursing somebody in your mind, using all the choicest abuses in your mother tongue, or in Sanskrit, using all the choicest bad words, swearing at somebody. That is also violence according to Jainism and according to the Nirgrantha sect. So ahimsa, not just physical violence, but also mental violence. Then, so it says if you swear at somebody, you use bad words, it not only harms you, but it also harms the other person. Then asteya, what is asteya? Not to receive anything which is not freely given. It literally means do not steal, but actually means not to receive anything which is not freely given. For example, let's say I want to give this flask to each one of you. So if I give this to you, I'm just giving you a hypothetical example. Don't take me personally. Let us say I want to give this to each one of you. If I give it to you, then you receive it. You should not ask and take. That's the meaning of asteya. Samajh mein aa gaya na? That's the meaning of asteya. So, for example, let us say I want to give this watch to somebody. I give this watch to somebody. Let's say I give this watch to Gunjan, okay, or Sakshi. She should, if I give it, they should take it. They should not ask and take it. That's the meaning of asteya. Did you understand? And lastly, aparigraha. Aparigraha means non-possession of wealth. You cannot call anything as your own. So non-possession of wealth. These are the 4 principles given by Parshva. And he asked his followers to cover their private parts. Here, please understand, when I say cover their private part, it means males only. Males. It means males. Females either way have to cover their body. So Parshva asked his male followers to cover their private parts. Right? So males to cover private part. So to these 4 principles, Mahavira added a 5th principle called Brahmacharya. I'll come to that tomorrow. I'll come to that later, the teachings of Mahavira. I stop here. I've run out of time. We'll continue this class tomorrow. I'll finish with Jainism, Bhagavatism, Shaivism, and I'll begin with art and culture tomorrow. I'll directly start with Mauryan art. stupas, viharas, palaces, pillars of Ashoka, etc., etc. Okay, so tomorrow, very important session. Don't miss it. You go back and revise. Any doubts, please ask me tomorrow or you mail me. Okay. So all the best. You have a good night's sleep. We'll meet tomorrow. Thank you very much. I'm logging out. Bhimare 250 years before Mahavira. My God. I said Parshva lived 250 years before Mahavira lived. Bhimare, did you get me? There's nothing in pre-modern art, Ankush. No, um, Indus civilization. I'm not going to discuss because I've done it in detailed manner when I did ancient India, and I told at that point in time that I'll not be covering the town planning of the Harappans, etc. I've done it in detailed manner. Go through your PPTs of Indus civilization. That should be more than sufficient. Thank you. Good night. No time for all that, Bhimre. Thank you.